It's cool. You can leave there. It's fine. Still see your pretty face.
So close.
That wasn't supposed to happen.
So you still enjoying the podcast? Obviously, you've done 20 of them now.
Yeah, man, you're number 22. I love doing it. I love having conversations with people, though. You know. Hey, don't knock it over. Microphone is on with you.
So we're on right now, huh?
Yeah, we're on. We're going. I dropped the camera during it. Sorry. Whatever.
So is this live or does it
Yeah, I use the live software to film it because
through YouTube? Yeah.
So when you first did it with me, when you're on episode 2, I was using some online software to film it and record it and then upload it to YouTube. Well, something happened and it wouldn't pick up the microphones, the equipment that I have. I don't know if it's the computer. I'm saving up for an Apple because it works exactly the way I want. And but they're a little expensive. But I was having microphone issues, so I had a couple interviews where you could either hear me or you could hear the guest, and the other person's microphone wasn't working.
So you upgraded here?
No, it's the same. This is just one of the microphones.
Okay.
But the software also then started dropping us while we were filming.
I remember that.
And I had the issue really bad with a couple guests where I just had to schedule them because it didn't work out. But so I was paying for that software, so I unsubscribed to it, and we realized that the YouTube Live, works exactly the way we kind of want it to work, except it will only pick up one microphone as well. So I'm using this software, using one microphone until I can get the proper stuff I need.
Dude, keep it simple.
But I mean,
cool. So you've learned a lot in the first 21 podcasts.
Yeah. I'm sure I will learn more.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the first things I learned when I started YouTube, I was like, what camera do I need? What mic do I need? Just had so many questions, right? What editing? How do I edit? Computer do I need? All this stuff, right? And then every YouTuber I watched was like, hey man, I spent 3 years before I dropped my first video. I spent 4 years before. They're like, the best thing I could have done was just start and learn and, make mistakes. You'd learn faster that way. So I was more like those guys. I would have taken 3 years before I started, but I just jumped into it like you did. It's like, okay, maybe there's some glitches with the first 10 or 20 podcasts, but it's more fun that way, I think, too.
Well, that and you see the growth.
Yeah.
Like people who like I noticed I got another subscriber, so now I have 69 now. These 69 people that are listening to these early ones, they'll see the growth from 22 to 100.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whenever I come out with my hundreds, I'm sure by then, hopefully by then I'll have the computer that I need and everything, and it will be better quality, better sound, because the sound is much different because you can tell if this microphone is far away from both of our mouths, as opposed to right here when we were talking the first episode that you were on.
Cool, man. I like it.
I thoroughly enjoy doing it. Last time I talked to you, you were talking about starting.
Yep.
Still
that's
thinking
funny.
about that?
So, I mean, it's on the list of top 50 things I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I got time for, less than 10 things in my schedule after you factor in normal life, right? So, but that said, I might just steal your idea, use YouTube Live, get a microphone. I already know the first guest I want to have. I already know what I want to talk about. And I already know how long I want. I already know a lot of things about it, but I have not started.
Yeah.
My cousin went and hiked the Grand Canyon, rim to rim, one day, 25 miles or something stupid. And I was like, bro, I want to sit down. And he was awake over 24 hours. I was like, I could sit down with you for an hour and gain a lot of information about hiking rim to rim that it took you a week to obtain. So that's who I want to interview first. But yeah. So if I had more time, I'd be doing podcasts.
Yeah, it does take up some time. I was telling, I had to pick up my aunt today from she had dropped a car off at the mechanic shop and I picked her up and I was just talking about how busy I am, with work. I have two jobs. Then I help my wife build the cleaning company. Then I podcast. Then I'm writing a book. And then I'm running for all that stuff. Like I'm super fucking busy right now. It's crazy.
Yep. I'm I have a tendency to cram too much into my schedule.
Hmm.
So I know if I did podcasting right now, it would be too much. I'm already overflowing a little bit, kind of busting at the seams. I'm trying to get that healthy.
Yeah, my cup is rather full right now, man.
Yep. And I'm right now to make everything work. Like I'm working on my master's degree right now in aviation. I just switched jobs from the Air Force
That's
to
right.
FAA.
Congratulations. Oh, real
Thanks,
quick,
man.
but before we go any further, my wife actually thought that President Trump elected you to some FAA position whenever you posted that on Facebook.
Yeah.
She came and showed me. She was so giddy and excited. She was like, "Look, Harry, marry your friend. It was appointed by President Trump." I was like,
She should
"He's
know I'm
just
ridiculous.
joking."
She should know I'm ridiculous, dude. Especially with his mustache. Yeah.
Well,
But
I'm sorry. I thought that was funny.
no, what's funny about that is, while we're on this tangent, I was just obviously being ridiculous.
Yeah,
So I
it was real. I read it. I was like, "He's joking."
I said something about preventing Boeing from losing their aircraft doors. I don't know if you heard about that deal.
Yeah.
With their Alaska Airlines
Yeah.
1292 flight or whatever. I just threw that in the post because it stuck in my head.
Which it was funny. I read your post. It was funny.
So I just found out today what I'm going to be doing at the FAA.
What is
One
it?
of our biggest goals is addressing the door.
No
I
way.
swear. It's like totally random, dude. So I just found that out today. I'm like, okay, that's funny. Couldn't make that up. But
Congratulations on the new job, by the way.
Thanks,
I
man.
know you were looking to change.
Oh yeah. I had to get the hell out of the Air Force for a lot of reasons. We can talk about that more later if you want. But where was I going with that?
FAA.
Oh, like working on my master's degree,
Yeah.
switching jobs. I find, and then you got all the other things like coaching pistol classes or trying to compete in pistol competitions. You fold some laundry, you cook some meals, you go to work, change oil in the car. Next thing you know, you don't got any time left. And so I'm cutting out like workouts. I'm starting to cut into things that are very, very, very healthy for me.
Mm-hmm.
So just to get through my master's degree. So I don't need to add a podcast because then I'd have to cut something else that's healthy out of my life.
Do you ever think of maybe adding it, but not dissecting it the way that you do things? Because you have an engineering mind. Like you over.
The only reason
You're very analytical of everything. Like you know what I mean. But hang on. Do you think that you could sit down with a guest once a week, just like we're doing for a few hours, and have that and just have a conversation and then upload it and that's it?
No, good question. But I wouldn't be able to do what I do right now if at the beginning of this year I hadn't started implementing the 80-20 rule, Pareto principle, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm only giving about 20% effort to most of the things I'm doing. I used to give 90 to 100. I'm only giving 20, and it's been cool.
What are you dogs doing? Hang on a second. I don't know what they're doing. Wait. Both of you. Knock it off. Sorry. 80-20 more rule.
Yeah, so basically, 80% of your success comes from 20% of your effort.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, the other 80% of your efforts only produce 20% of your success. So if you can find the 20% and just focus on that, you'll get a lot of good out of that 20%. So I've been putting 20% into my school, 20% into my work, 20% into pistol coaching, whatever, going hunting, taking a vacation. Like I'm not over planning like I used to. I'm not overthinking. I've cut it way down, but even doing that, I'm barely getting everything done. So
sorry, Gus, come here.
Like the Fight Club.
Uh-huh.
They just started a book this week that I really, really, really want to read.
Quitting. What's the book?
The mini manual for urban self-defense.
Quit. Both of you. Mini manual for urban self-defense.
Yeah, long story short, it's a super smart dude about military tactics wrote it. Ukrainians got a hold of it and they've used it to defeat Russia. And it's just this little short manual of little lessons on how to defend a city. And so we're going through that manual. It really interested me. And for me to, I drove up there Sunday night to Fight Club. I was there from 7, and then when 8 o'clock hit, I grabbed my shoes, and they were still talking about it. I walked out. I mean, I couldn't stay any longer just to squeeze in that 1 hour. But it's something I really, really, really wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's only going to be a 2 or 3 week commitment, and that, you know, my day was completely packed.
Sam. Come on, Kennel. Kennel. Come on, separate. Boys can't play nice. Come on. Sam. Kennel. Good boy. Sorry.
You're good, man.
They wouldn't stop, so.
He's riled up about something.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, I'm maxed out right now.
Yeah. So you're just, even in Fight Club nights, you can only squeeze in like an hour, that
I haven't
first
been to
hour.
Fight Club in years. I just went for the first time 2 days ago,
Oh,
like just for the book discussion, and then I left.
yeah.
But I've also found that it's better that way because back to the 80-20 rule, it's like it becomes a point of diminishing returns, right? So it's kind of like the first scoop of ice cream is really tasty.
Mm-hmm.
Second one's almost as good. Third one, it's not
Starting to get full.
right.
Too
So
much
like
sugar.
the first scoop is the best. So I'm just trying to get the first scoop. I stayed for an hour, 2 scoops. I mean, maybe I could stay another hour, but I really got as much as I can get at this point in my life out of the first scoop. And it's time to split. I don't have time for the. And it's the same with the hardest for me has been homework. Actually studying something I'm interested in, wanting to research more, and being like, I'm just gonna submit this paper. It's gonna have to be good enough. That sounds.
Oh, so you're having to stop yourself from
Yeah, bro.
diving too deep into it?
Okay, in fact, I got I've scored an A on every single assignment that I've done. And last Saturday night, my lowest score has been a 92% on any assignment, right? So I'm still trying too hard. I'm trying not to try.
Yeah.
I got my first below an A. I got an 80% on an assignment last week. It was kind of an accident, but I was like, dude, it's 11:15 at night. This is due at midnight. I banged it out for 30 minutes. And I was like, she doesn't need references. I'm not even going to give I'm not going to do all the perfect sites, reference citation.
Cite everything.
Reading the manual, you have to indent this many spaces and put a period. I was like, screw it. She doesn't even care about references. I'm not even going to list it. I submitted it, and she came back and she goes, no, I care about references. I have to dock you for not your paper comes back 52% plagiarized. I was like, I did not plagiarize. She's like, well, if you use references, you didn't plagiarize, but you didn't put references.
So technically it's plagiarized.
She docked me, and she's like, you get an 80% on this one. I was like, okay, one assignment. So I'm getting better at not trying too hard. But anyways, you get it.
Yeah. I know that's hard for you too, though. Because that's one of the things I like about you is your analytical mind, your engineering.
It's too much.
It is a lot.
It's too much.
I wouldn't want to think the way that you think, because sometimes I think that you overthink things, because you can dwell on something for a while before you actually start it, to make sure that best way I can reference is in Liam Neeson's character in Taken.
Yeah.
You know how he shows up and asks about the karaoke machine in the beginning of the movie?
I've never seen it.
Oh, well, he's very much like you.
Yeah.
That's a good description of you. Like, if you watch that movie, Liam Neeson's character in it, the way he needs to know every little detail about the thing that he's purchasing before he purchases it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a blessing and it's a curse, right? Your greatest strength's your greatest weakness also. I'm really good at seeing what's wrong with something. This could go wrong. This could go wrong. This could go wrong, which sucks for everyday normal life, right? Just throw the laundry in the washer and go. It doesn't matter what the, just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when it comes to like aircraft accident investigations, I have found I'm better than the average person at finding out what caused the accident.
Because you can
Because I'm like, well, what if this could have went
nitpick.
wrong? This could have went wrong. Did you think about this? Did you think about that? And so it's a strength when I'm using it in the right area. But in everyday normal life,
Did you get that from having that job for so many years, or was it like that before you had that job?
I've been that way my whole life, dude.
Yeah.
As long as I can remember, I could see everything that could go wrong. And it was unhealthy.
Mhm.
Luckily, I found a place where it's useful. So
Engineering.
yeah, well, not even necessarily engineering, but a specific part of engineering. Because most of the engineering I've done has been the biggest and only complaint I get from most of my bosses is you do really good work, but you took a long time. I'm like, I know I hate it too. I wish I could not think about all the things I think about, but I have to process everything. If you want a product that good, I got to do all this extra inefficient stuff to get to that paper that you liked. And so, yeah, I'm slow, but when I do it, I do it right.
And you do it efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, there's some inefficiency in there, but I'm just it's very time consuming. So I'm getting better at that. I'm learning engineers aren't as smart as I'm not supposed to be as how do I word this? I had a perception of what engineers are supposed to be like.
Hmm.
They're not like that.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I
What were they supposed to be like?
like if you ask me what hey, this airplane's broken over in the war. We need to fix this broken ducting. I thought they would think about physics, chemistry, and they would
Sam, what are
read.
you doing, buddy?
Got something in your
That
foot?
was a whiny.
Thought he was maybe biting at his foot.
Well, he's been nipping at his tail.
Got something in there?
We need to get him a cone so he stops messing with it and lets it heal. He won't let this. Sam, you're hurting yourself, buddy. He won't let it heal.
Mm.
Something happened to his tail and he won't let it heal. He keeps licking it. Calm down, buddy. Go to bed. Go to bed. Go to bed. Come on, kennel. Kennel. Good boy. Lay down. Lay down. Good boy. Leave your tail alone. He's such a baby. That is pure 78 pounds of baby, dude.
Yeah, he's a softy.
Man. Yeah, he's messing with his tail. Sam, I can see you doing it, buddy. Sam. Sam, leave it alone.
Oh yeah, I see his tail
You
now.
see it?
Yeah,
Yeah. We're gonna have to get him a cone.
it's almost like you'd have to like, well, if you wrapped it up in some kind of
Same.
bandage, you'd chew it off.
That's why the cone, the cones
Yeah.
that they put over their heads where they even if they can get back there, they can't get past the plastic of the cone to lick it. Sam, leave it alone. So he won't like it, but we had to have one. He had so his saliva gland in his neck swelled up one time.
Uh-huh.
It was just this huge knot. Like it didn't hurt him or nothing. We thought maybe he had a tumor or something, but they had to go in surgically and remove it, and he had to have the cone on to keep him from scratching that area and everything. He did not like having that cone on, man. He
Yeah.
couldn't eat.
Yeah.
Take
I can tell he's the type of dog that would not like that.
Yeah. Well, he's a big old baby. Unfortunately, we got him. We got him because he's supposed to be a guard dog, and he sounds like a guard dog. But you've met him.
Yeah.
That one's more of the killer. The little one. Funny how that is. It's always the small ones that you got to worry about. Gus.
Oh, they hear the sirens.
The ambulance sirens.
Yeah.
It's one of the things about living so close to Rockwell, man. I'm sure you hear him. You live pretty close to MacArthur. Your house is relatively close.
We get a lot of calls to the 7-Eleven right there at Expressway in MacArthur.
Hmm.
There's a lot of calls to there. There's, you know,
Can you hear the sirens whenever?
yeah. And then there's the Section 8 housing back behind that 7-Eleven over in, what's that called?
Lyrewood?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Lyrewood, yeah.
So there's always, not always, but we'll hear gunshots from over there. We'll hear cop cars.
Mhm. Actually, the neighborhood you live in, I think I've told you this before, but literally behind your yard, those houses over there, one of my childhood friends in middle school, he lived over there in a little 2-story house.
Yeah.
I used to go up there and have sleepovers, spend the weekend and whatnot. And we used to run around that neighborhood, get into all kinds of nonsense.
Mhm.
We actually got pulled over. How long you lived in Oklahoma City?
I've lived right within a couple miles of right here my whole life.
Okay, so there, back before that Walmart was at 63rd and MacArthur, there used to be a shopping center of some sorts that was there. And behind it
Hmm.
was the alleyway for the trash trucks to get to the dumpsters and whatnot. And it was a really messed up road. Do you by any chance remember that?
I know, I remember that whole thing. I never went behind it though.
Okay. Well, one day, me and my friends, when we were 16, he had a Ford Ranger, and we were in the back, standing up, acting like we were surfing, and he was driving through that at a relatively high speed, and a cop saw us, and we got pulled over right at MacArthur Expressway. Ugh,
Yeah.
son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Hmm. We didn't go to jail. We're just kids having fun, you know. Cop stopped us and be like, "You realize you could be hurt? God dang it, you damn kids!"
Yeah.
I think he was taking his wife to dinner. He was like, "See, I'm taking my wife to dinner, and I'm gonna stop and tell you kids how it is."
Yep. Yep. There was a Safeway there, I think, and a Luby's. I remember that, or Furs, whichever one it was. Long time ago.
Hmm.
But my great grandma liked to eat that little Luby's or whatever it was. And my cousin worked at that Safeway. He got fired because he was 16 selling beer to his 16-year-old friends at the grocery store. They just showed their ID for the camera or whatever,
Yeah.
and he got busted.
Ugh,
He got away with it like once or twice, and they caught him. Got fired.
yeah.
But yeah, man.
That once or twice was a good time though for his friends.
Yep. Yep.
I did stupid that dumb
I,
stuff.
I wish I'd done more stupid stuff like that.
Why didn't you? Always a safe player.
I was always worried about everything that could go wrong, man. I could see all the things that would go wrong. And then after I turned probably, I don't know, 17 or 18, then I went hard the other way. But when I was younger, no, I was too,
What'd you do? Just stay in your room the whole time?
I was a loner, man. I was a loner. I would get on my bicycle, go somewhere like Delisi before anybody was at Delisi, and I'd go build little bike trails and
Hmm.
little dirt bike ramps and stuff like that. Same thing at Overholser because I lived by Overholser. I'd go down there before anybody went down below the dam, make little bike trails. I tried all over the freak. My parents had no idea where I was at, dude.
My parents didn't have any idea where we were at.
I would ride far, 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 far away, far. Um, yeah. So yeah, I just go out and do whatever. Usually on my bicycle.
Yeah. And then what happened when you turned 17?
When I was 16 and a half, I think, met a dude in a driver's ed. I was super shy. And I walk into class, all my peers are in there, and as soon as I walk in, everybody starts laughing. They're all laughing at me, and I have no idea what's going on. And the teacher wasn't in there yet. There was a chalkboard at the front of the classroom, and there was a chalkboard at the back of the classroom. I'm looking at the front, everyone's laughing, and then I turn around and look at the back chalkboard, and this dude wrote, "Brandon has no penis" in huge letters. They were all just waiting for me to walk in and see it, right? And so everybody's down out. I see it, and me and that dude ended up becoming best friends after that. After I got over the whole embarrassment of it all, he invited me to a party, and the rest is history, man. I started drinking, hanging out, and I liked drinking. It turned everything off up here. I didn't feel anxiety. I didn't overthink, and so I couldn't drink enough,
I could see that.
which led to dumb stuff.
Yeah.
dumb stuff. So yeah,
I can see that how that tones down your brain though.
oh, it was great. It got rid of depression, anxiety. I didn't even know I was dealing with those things until hindsight, but I just know drinking, man. I think for me, like a lot of people like drinking, but I think the gap between how I normally felt and how I felt drinking was bigger for me. So I liked it more. I mean, I couldn't, it was blackout drunk. I mean, there was no have a six pack and stop. I couldn't quit drinking once I started drinking. So
That's how I was.
I did some dumb stuff.
That's how I was.
And I even have one or two nights I don't remember, which is weird.
I have a lot of those nights,
I remember most things, but there's a couple stories people tell me, and I'm like, huh?
man.
That's freaky. I don't remember any of that.
When I met you, you weren't drinking like that.
It was mainly my 20s.
Yeah.
I did it hard, late teens and then all the way through my 20s. And then I had a little epiphany about 30 years old. And I was like,
Saw all the things that could go wrong.
well, I was having a ton of fun, right? But then there's a super high highs, but then the lows kept getting lower, right? And the highs weren't quite as high, and the lows were getting a little lower, and it just wasn't as fun anymore. So I started trying a bunch of other stuff, more debauchery, and I was like, okay, this is very unfulfilling, and I cannot ignore it anymore. And that was about the time I was 30 years old. So because my whole idea, I was never going to get old. Somewhere in my head, I was just going to be young forever. There's a part of my brain that just didn't calculate you're getting old.
Not that you were gonna die young, just that you were gonna be 25 for.
I just couldn't comprehend getting older, because in part of your brain, you always feel 18 or whatever. And I was very much locked into that.
Do you still feel 18 now?
There's that part of my brain's still alive, right? But then I have all these other external factors, external inputs I didn't used to have, like my body. My body does reminds me, you may think like you're 18 still, but your body doesn't feel that way.
Mhm. I
So,
noticed that in the recovery process of if I injure myself,
yep,
it takes a lot longer to heal.
that's another thing. Several injuries, they never went back to the way they were. So these all these little external inputs are like, hey, you feel 18 in your mind right now, but
You're not.
yeah,
You're in your 40s.
you're trying not to. Your goal is not to go to the Olympics now. Your goal is not to hurt yourself, right? So yeah, but it's funny because I think everybody has that. Like your body gets older, but you still feel like you're the same person you were when you were younger.
Well, I mean, you kind of are.
Mhm.
You're just a little bit wiser now, less dumb. I think
Yep.
still stupid, but less dumb
Yeah.
because we're boys.
Yeah. Boy, when I quit drinking, that helped a lot. I felt like I started maturing after I quit drinking.
I felt the exact same way.
I had a dude tell me in my group I used to go to, he said, whenever you started drinking, you quit maturing. And when you quit drinking, you pick up wherever you started. I started drinking when I was 16 and I quit when I was 40.
I think I heard that somewhere
And
recently too.
I don't know if it's true for everyone, but I certainly have noticed the past 4 years of my life, uh, a lot of things are fitting together the way they never have. And I was pretty much the same person for the 25 years I drank. I mean, I just was. I thought I would always be that way. And then I quit. And now, I don't know, things that used to be funny aren't funny anymore. Dumb stuff isn't as appealing. So, yeah, I felt like I hit pause on maturing for 25 years. And now I'm not trying to play catch up, but I am progressing.
I think there's actually some science behind that of what it actually does to your brain when you start to not have a drink, like have a nightcap. I'm not talking about drinking. I'm talking about drinking, like you're talking, like excessive drinking.
Yeah, that was me.
That has an effect on your mind physically where
And it
you
had to.
don't mature.
It had to. I got another buddy who quit. I think he's been sober almost twice as long as me, and we had the same conversation. Like You ever wonder what your life would be like if you never drank? Oh my God. I'd have 3 Lamborghinis and 4 helicopters, and like I would have been so much. Not that money's what matters, but
Yeah, you would have been better off.
I would have. Yeah, I could have done a lot of other things, but I, let's say, wasted it drinking. But that's life.
Yeah,
That's life. I'm glad I learned at 40 and not at 60 or 80 or whatever. So I'm thankful for process, but it
abs-
makes you wonder, what if I'd have quit?
but at the same time, like you wouldn't be the person you are today without those things, you know? Because like
I agree.
I spent 12 years, and I always tell people just kind of it was in a downward trajectory while I was doing my drinking. But a lot of good things happened in that time. Like I met my wife. And,
Yeah,
you know, there are good things that happened in those times. It
I
wasn't a
agree.
complete waste, you know, because had I not drank the way I drank, I never would have met my,
I agree.
you know.
I agree. I just can't help but wonder sometimes.
Yeah, no,
What
absolutely. Like
what if I
had I stayed in the military for 20 years, like I'd have a nice fucking pension right
you
now.
wonder what if.
You know, like there's all kinds of that's what the multiverse theory is. It's like one of you did never drink, you know? There's
Yeah,
a
and one of me kept drinking
yeah.
forever. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know how we got to talk about drinking.
I don't know. That's what I like about this conversation. That that's why I don't ever plan them.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I plan is the last question. That's it. I mean, I have an idea of what I want to talk to you about. Like, I want to talk to you about, you know, your classes that you've been doing. Like, because I really want to take one of your classes. Like,
Oh, pistol
yeah,
classes?
you
Firearms
know,
classes? Yeah.
because eventually when I get the money to pay for it, I'd like to go to like one of those sheepdog response courses,
Uh,
you know,
uh,
and having some basic pistol classes in my belt will make me feel more comfortable going to those,
yeah.
you know, because those are taught by some pretty elite dudes
Yep.
that don't fuck around,
Correct.
you know.
Correct.
And I don't want to walk in there. Like I saw a video of them one time. They were, it was just an example of one of their classes, and they were on an outdoor shooting range, and he was just talking about how being physically fit plays into being a better shooter and better situationally aware and whatnot. And he stops and he looks around to the whole group and he's like, I can tell a bunch of you don't work out,
Yeah.
you know, like just, I don't want to be that dude that he's looking at, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, man. Those classes, I've taken some of those higher level classes, $500 for a class. The guy I took it from, it was actually the worst class I've ever taken.
you've mentioned this to me before.
And then I've been to some other classes. Most of the good ones that I've been to around the $100 range,
Mhm.
maybe a little more. But I was convinced to go take this $500 class from this nationally renowned dude. Not a fan, bro. But I did take
You
like
told me he spent more time talking about himself and
he
how he's nationally renowned.
yeah, I think his, I don't know. I'll give the benefit of the doubt. I'll just, maybe he's really trying to help people and his heart's in the right spot. Maybe it's not about the money for him. Well, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Maybe
But
he likes to hear himself talk.
right, well, that's true. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say that that was true for sure. So, but I did take 2 or 3 things from that entire weekend, and I implement those in my class. But I had to listen to 97 things that were like, huh,
Pointless.
yeah, and
Or
pay
wrong.
$500 and spend 2 days. And so then I take the 2 or 3 nuggets, bring those to my class, and offer training for less than $100,
Mhm.
just because I want people to train. So yeah, you should come out anytime, man.
And how does your class work? Like not price, just like the actual aspect of it. Is it one day? Is it two
Good
day?
question.
You know, is it half a day? Like
Yeah, good question. Most classes are that I've taken are either 2 hours or 2 days. And I feel like there's a lot of disadvantages to both of those and only a few benefits. And so without getting into all that, my classes are 4 hours. Sometimes we might go 4.5 or 5, but usually 4 hours because I feel like most people don't have a time, can't commit the time for a 2 day class in Texas or Eastern Oklahoma or this. You got this long drive, 2 days out of town because most of them aren't here, and they're expensive too. So, and in the 2 hour classes, you put 10 people in that class, which isn't a lot of students. You're not going to do a whole lot of shooting. You're going to listen to a guy talk. You're going to put a few rounds of ammo through your gun. You're going to hand a guy some money, and you're like, okay, I went to a class. But I just don't feel like that's enough time for you to start repping what I'm teaching you, right? So my classes are 4 hours, and we'll start off heavy, just a quick overview. We'll do like a 30-minute safety brief. I'm huge on safety. That's my number one thing. So everybody understands exactly what I expect and exactly what they should expect of themselves the entire day with safety. Then we move out to the range with range officers, set everybody up, and we'll spend about 3 hours um, going over whatever lesson plan I have for the day. Basic pistol, intermediate pistol, expert pistol, whatever you're there for. And then we'll close out the last 30 minutes of the day discussing what we learned, taking feedback from students,
Pressure.
do a survey, ask people what they, I take feedback from the class and then implement that in the next one. So my last feedback was that everybody appreciated I teach one thing and I got to rep it a couple times. And then I teach just one more thing and I got to add it on and rep a couple times. And so I just slowly stacked on skills, which is, and that's always been my thing. And they're there 4 hours, half their Saturday's taken up, and now they can go home back to their wife and kids or whatever, or husband and kids, whatever the case might be. They didn't eat up their whole day, and didn't eat up their pocketbook. They can come out and train. And I'll even give them a sheet at the end. I give them a couple things, but I'll give them a sheet that just summarizes, here's what we drilled today. Take that to the range and go drill it before you come back.
Yeah.
Go, because today's good, but go practice. Go to the range. Just so, and we can get into a whole bunch of other stuff, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. I'm trying to do next year. I'm going to start hosting one class a month. So see what happens. I might travel to Florida for one class and maybe put on a class in Colorado.
How are you going to put them on in different states? Just people that you know there and get the word
Friend
out,
on
or
Facebook goes, when are you going to come teach that class in Florida?
oh, okay,
I've got an Airbnb you can stay at if you'll come teach down here.
yeah,
Okay. So we're working on a deal in Florida, and then Colorado's iffy, but I know some people live in Colorado. That one probably won't happen, but we'll see. I love traveling.
I need to go hike that mountain with you,
Manitou Incline,
whichever one it is.
my favorite one.
Your favorite one?
Yeah, Manitou
Yeah.
Incline.
Yeah, the one that you do regularly.
I just smashed that one like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I literally pull into Colorado on a Sunday night at 4 p.m. It starts snowing at 6 p.m. Soon as I get there, first snow of the year, just random, stops on Monday. I go hike Tuesday, so there's only one little like inch of snow on the mountain. So you could still hike it.
Mm-hmm.
It looked beautiful. I've never seen it like that. So I hiked up and then I got down the next day. It dumped for 3 solid days. All the highways were shut down. You couldn't have hiked it. You couldn't have done nothing. So I got this one little perfect.
That perfect window.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool.
Take any pictures?
I did. I made a little
Sure,
video.
it was beautiful, man.
It was cool.
Are you gonna put it on your YouTube?
As soon as I get some time, buddy. As soon as I get some time.
Did you ever put up that workout one that we did?
No, I've got that's probably on my top 5 of the ones I want to produce.
We should probably refilm it. I can do more pull-ups now.
Well, I was only going to get you. I mean, I was going to use a clip of you doing one or two.
I was just joking.
And then I'll put a counter on there that says 99, 100.
99, 100.
Yeah.
Which is really 3.
So yeah, thanks for asking about the classes. Hope I didn't.
No, man, I really like it, and I like how you do the little bit on top of the previous.
Yeah,
because that gives you your mind and your body the ability to set in the muscle memory, because that's what's most important in shooting, I think, is that muscle memory. Because I feel like if a situation is to arise and your adrenaline spikes, most people resort back to that muscle memory
Mhm.
because you're not thinking as clearly as you and I are thinking right now.
Correct.
And most people kind of hide in those situations, like their first instinct is to run.
Mhm.
What do they say? It's run, hide, fight,
Yeah,
or
that's the
run, hide, or fight is like your three basic in like an active shooter situation.
that's what they teach an active shooter now. Yeah.
Yeah, run, hide, fight, one of those three.
The
Fight is your last one because you
yeah.
shouldn't. What I'm not telling people to do that shit. But if you have a gun on you,
Yeah.
it's a different scenario.
Well, they'll even tell you if you have a weapon, if you can run, run. Can't run, then hide. If you can't hide, then fight.
Yeah, but
But I think if I think for 99.999% of people, that is a pretty good protocol. If you're not going to follow that, and I would say I'm a person that would not follow that in certain situations, um, just make sure you're training properly and you're aware of what you're getting yourself into because
mhm,
you need a really good reason to not follow that protocol because most people should.
yeah.
It's not, well, it is what it is, but
Well, let's delve into that just a
okay.
little bit because, like me, when I carry,
Mhm.
which is a lot of the times now, especially in today's day and age, because I just don't fucking trust people anymore. Um, there's especially in our city is just, I mean, there's homeless people on every corner begging
There
for
is
money.
since COVID, they're
You
everywhere.
know,
Yeah,
just about every single corner in this city has got somebody on it begging for money. And I don't know what you're if you're on something, if you're not on something, if you're just lazy and wanting to beg for money, or if you're on drugs. I don't know what you're doing.
sure.
I'm not gonna approach you and try to figure it out and try to fight you or nothing. But I feel like when I'm carrying that there is this is gonna be my man ego come out on this. Um, this unspoken duty of that protector inside
Mhm.
men,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Like if you are to come across a situation, then I kind of feel like I'm able to help, so I should. Now, I would only ever pull a weapon in a life situation, i.e., I see somebody trying to kill somebody else or that person's trying to kill me.
mhm,
Um, but I also know that in the aspect of helping to defend somebody else's life, that it's a very gray line because I think the law feels like you should have some sort of restraint. Is that right?
so I'll tell you what the
You know
law
a lot
says.
more about it than I
I'll
do.
tell you what the law says, and then, and this isn't verbatim, so, consult your lawyer, don't take Brandon's word for it, but I teach concealed carry classes for licensure in Oklahoma, and what the law says in almost every section of the Oklahoma law, it says something real close to this. Says you have to be a reasonable person would have to feel that they are their life is in danger and that there's no other way to get out of the situation. I can't remember how they word that. There's some more legal words, right? But basically, there has a reasonable person would have to believe your life is in imminent danger is the word they use, and there's nothing else you could do, or that a family member's life is in imminent danger and there's nothing they could do. And so you have to respond as if you're the person being attacked. And you have to respond as if you're reasonable. So that's what the law says. Uh,
What about with a random citizen that you don't know?
that's where you better talk to your lawyer. I can tell you that I've seen it go both ways. So I've seen people use deadly force, and maybe their intent was good, but they got in a lot of trouble, jail time, a lot of years. I've also seen the defense of, well, the reason I responded was because I felt my life was in danger. I was in the convenience store that the guy was holding up, and they go, "Oh, well, we can understand why you weren't," that court saw that he was defending his life.
Mhm.
But I don't think the letter of the law would have actually allowed that. I think the jury or the judge said, okay, like, we understand what you did was probably the right thing and probably good, so we're not going to throw the book at you. But that's a gamble,
Yeah.
I think.
What about that first one you were describing though, where it didn't go the way? Like, is that because maybe he read the situation wrong and the person that he shot was actually had somehow overpowered the person who was attacking them, kind of thing?
What was it? I mean, so
And it was he just misread it wrong and he wasn't actually defending the person who was being attacked. He was actually defending the assailant.
yeah, there's a lot of scenarios. There is one where you're coming in to rescue somebody and you think the person you're rescuing is the victim,
Mhm,
and they're not. They're the one that started the whole thing.
mhm.
There's also the problem of maybe you see a, I mean, there's just a, if you're going to get engaged and your life is not in imminent danger, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And we just talked about legally what could go wrong, but there's also what the shooter walked into Walmart, comes in with a gun, and the guy sees him and goes after him. And then the shooter's partner comes in behind him, right? Didn't know the partner was coming in. So the hero is in between the first shooter and the second shooter. Second shooter takes out the hero. So he decided to get involved when his life wasn't in danger, and he got killed. So,
Yeah.
and that's happened at least once in recent history. But and then I mean, yeah. So things can change second by second too. So
I'm also not out looking for those things because I'm not a cop. Like it's not my job to find that in regular society. I carry to defend me and my wife if something were to happen.
right,
You know what I mean? Like
yep,
I'm not looking to be a fucking Batman or nothing like that.
yeah. The best thing you can normally do is be a good witness.
I think
If you, I mean, if you need to leave, leave. But if you can stay and witness something and without getting hurt, best thing you can do is keep your gun holstered and be a witness and call the cops if nobody's called the cops. That sounds weird, but the more I've studied this, the more I found that to be true.
yeah.
And in fact, I have a couple of situations, one particular where I witnessed something, really wanted to go help, didn't, called the cops, and the dispatcher from 911 got back on and told me what was going on. I was like, oh my God, I'm glad I didn't stop. I'm
Yeah.
glad I didn't help. I'm glad I just reported it.
Yeah.
But then you got that, like you said, that protector in you that wants to do something.
That's what it is. It's that
You might get yourself in
that
trouble.
protector ego in you is like I'm a man. I need to protect, and
Yep.
that's what gets people in trouble.
Yep.
I think that I was listening. Tim Kennedy was talking one time about situational awareness. He's like, if I'm out with my family in a restaurant, I think this was in the height of the George Floyd riots. He was talking about because there was an instance where a rider with a bullhorn went into a restaurant and was, I think they were, I don't remember what they were chanting. Don't quote me on this, but I think they were chanting something along the lines of Black Lives Matter. And this person was at the table, was not joining into the rest of the people in the group. So the person with the bullhorn came over and got in their face, and it ended up being a fight, so something like that. But he was talking about how when he's out with his family, because he's an ex Green Beret, he carries, he has a gun and everything. But he's like, if we're sitting there eating and I start to see a group of people congregating out front, whatnot, and then I see some more people show up to that, and one of them has a bullhorn. It's time for the check. We got to go because you know just be situationally aware of your surroundings, and when you see things, just go away.
Yeah.
Just take your family somewhere else.
Yeah.
You don't need to be a part of everything that goes on in this world.
Yeah, it gets tough though. I agree. But then your primal brain kicks in. Some guy shoves you, and
Hmm.
you're like, the last thing a lot of dudes are going to think is, okay, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm going to walk away now, which is totally what you should probably do. Right. But you never think through, you just know all of a sudden I got shoved, I got pushed, whatever. Dude stepped on my foot, spit in my face, called my mom, whatever.
Hmm.
Your immediate reaction is not, I'm sorry. I'm sorry my foot was in your way. You're right. That's true about my mom. Have a good night. That's not your first response, right? That's what you should do.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, even if I decide to get in a fight with this guy and I win the physical altercation, he falls down, hits his head. I got a huge legal battle on my hands now. Over what? What did I gain from all that?
Nothing.
But my ego had to swallow, I had to swallow my pride and go, yeah, you're right. That's true what you said about my sister. Can I buy you a beer? Like, you can, most fights are avoidable.
Most are.
Most are. And then the ones that aren't avoidable, I would tell you, I'm a strong proponent of pepper spray. Way less legal trouble with pepper spray. Way less dead bodies. You know what I mean? Less lawyers involved, stuff like that. But I, I've had to use pepper spray once. I hope I never have to use it again.
Did you get some in your eye?
I didn't. Nope. That's why I like gels. Gels stick together. The sprays in Oklahoma might be a bad idea, but the gels will,
Yeah, that wind.
you'll have less blowback.
Hang on, let me adjust so I'm upwind from you. Hang on
Yeah,
a second.
yeah. I mean, you never know in Oklahoma. If it's windy, maybe you should fist fight, not pepper spray, because you're both going to be on the ground. But yeah, I hope I just have to pull my weapon for competitions and having fun. I hope I never, ever have to use it for real. But that said, if something pops off and it's one of those rare situations where it's me or the bad guy,
Hmm.
I'd rather be prepared than defenseless.
But see, that's my whole thing is I would just rather be prepared to be able to deal with a situation if it arrives.
Right.
Because you never know if it is good or not. You just never know.
Well, yeah, so I use this number a lot, but I would say also 99.99 whatever percent of all that is avoidable if you just have situational awareness.
Hmm.
Right. A big rally's coming in the restaurant with a bullhorn. They all look like they want to start a riot.
Time to go. Give me my check.
Deuce. Or you can be the guy that sits there and films it because you want to put it on World Star or whatever. You're just like, man, get out of there, dude. It's not worth however many likes you're going to get on whatever Instagram.
Man, it's amazing, isn't it? How people resort to that.
Is
It's
that
gotten so bad that now I've heard people recommend in like a a, a medical emergency type situation that you stop, you help, and you actually point at people and say, "You call 911.
yes,
You go get me water. You go get me a towel."
correct.
Otherwise, because if you just yell, people are just gonna
If you say
stand there and film
if you say somebody, well, that's even before phones. If you said somebody call 911, nobody would call.
because they think everybody else is gonna do it.
Yep. I need you to go block the traffic. I need you to call 911.
I think it's gotten worse since.
Yeah. I was
Just 'cause-
surprised the night I pepper sprayed that dude. The cops were impressed, slash, we'll just say impressed, that I stopped to help the girl that was in trouble. And they're like, nobody does that anymore. And this was 5 years ago. Like, nobody does that. Everyone just, if they do anything, they just record it on their phone. So thanks for stopping. Thanks for helping her out.
This is the
I
situation
was like,
that happened.
huh? People would see that and not stop. And he's like, yeah, they'll just film it. If they do.
What was the situation that happened?
There was I was driving home, super tired, 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I'm ready to go home. I'm tired. There was a new there's a 7-Eleven at Northwest Expressway in MacArthur, just south of there. They were building what is now Tropical Smoothie and some fitness gym right there. It's a real small little thing. But they had just paved the parking lot. There was no building there yet. There was construction. And I'm driving by there going to my house, almost home, and just out of the corner of my eye, it's a dark parking lot. There's no lights in it yet or anything. And I saw what I thought was a dude dragging a girl. I was like, Like she's trying to go one way and he's like yanking her arm. I was like, I'm tired. Bro, turn around and just go, just so you can sleep tonight. So I turn around, drive back by, going the other way and take a look. Sure enough, there's a chick in the parking lot in the dark. You can barely see him over there trying to get away, and he's trying to yank her the other way. So I get to a spot where I can watch him for another 60 seconds or so. And
Make sure you understand what's going on.
right. And so then I pull up and play the dumb white guy. I roll down my window, have my pistol underneath my steering column, and I got my pepper spray right here on my console, which is where I keep, which is easy. Both of them. Which one do I need? Batman tool belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought I was going to use any of this stuff. I just had gotten into self defense, so I had my things, right? I pull up and I said, "Do you guys need? How you guys doing tonight?" Playing the dumb white guy. How y'all doing?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Yeah, just trying to play dumb guy, right? And this dude's Mexican guy, Latino guy, tattoos like on the neck and the face, which you would probably stereotypical like scary dude. This guy's been some places, right? And couldn't help that I thought that, and I was like, okay. And there's this little bitty white girl, and this big Mexican dude that's all tatted up, and I'm like, something doesn't fit here, bro.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but just go. And so I said, "Are you guys okay?" He goes, "Get the f out of here." And I was like, "Well, I just wanted. I didn't know what I could feel the tension."
Yeah.
So I played dumb white guy as long as I can. I was like, "Oh, I just didn't know. Look like you guys might need some help. Are you guys okay though?" I said, "Get the f out of here. This is my effing wife and blah blah blah." I was like, whatever he just said, he's lying. I can tell. It's not his wife. And I said, "All right, man. You guys sure you're okay? I'm going to get out of here. You guys sure you're okay?" He loses it. And he starts approaching my window. My window's down. He can strike me, but I can't do jack sitting there in my
With your seatbelt on. Yeah.
right. So
It's a very vulnerable position.
yep. So just in the heat of the moment, he had about 2, 3, maybe 4 steps. I mean, he was right there. And so I just grab my pepper spray. When he comes up to me, he raises his arms up, and I just hit him with the hot sauce, and he starts screaming bloody murder 2 seconds later. Oh, the part I left out was when I was playing dumb white guy, and I was like, "Are you guys sure you're okay?" She's in the background mouthing, "No, we're not okay. No, please help."
Yeah.
And I'm seeing she would step back behind him and mouth that, not say it, but mouth it.
Mm-hmm.
And she would do things like this, "Please help." And I was like, yeah. So then he starts approaching my window. I'm trying to go to bed. What the hell's going on here? I hit him. And the funny thing was, or interesting thing was, before I got out of that parking lot, 20 seconds later, 10 seconds later, he had already found a big piece of wood, like a 2x4, in the construction site and was running after me, trying to see but couldn't see, and running after me. He was pissed.
Wait, did she get in your car at this point?
No, I got the hell away from him because I could tell
Yeah.
it was about to be on.
It was it was going to escalate.
Right. Right. So I pull one block down the corner, call 911. They show up, and 2 hours later, everything was cleared. But at first, they were like, she's not corroborating your story. She said, she's saying you assaulted her boyfriend. I was like, bro, I've never picked for anybody in my life. I didn't just start tonight because I was bored. I'm telling you, that dude was he was coming to assault me. He's coming to attack me. And she was asking for help. So they finally go back and interrogate them again and split them apart. And then she corroborated my story. But when she was next to him,
She was afraid.
She was afraid, right? And so then they gave me some props and said, "Dude, thanks for carrying. Thanks for stopping to help. You may get a summons to court." I was like, "What?"
Well, you were part of the
I
situation.
was like, "Okay."
I
Like,
don't
if he presses charges, you may have a court day. But they're like, "You shouldn't have anything to worry about. Everything you said checks out." And interesting fun fact, I was shocked at how quick he got pepper sprayed and was ready to fight. I've watched tons of pepper spray videos from big old steroid out skinhead dudes in jail that 7 cops can't take down. They pepper spray dudes like that and they comply completely. They don't want no more of it. I've seen lots of videos. And then this dude gets pepper sprayed, and 10 seconds later, he's ready to go.
Think he was on drugs, maybe?
I've seen dudes on drugs. And I'm telling you, when they get pepper sprayed, it's over. There's so much tears and snot. and they're just in so much pain and they can't see and they can't breathe. And so I was talking with cops about it. And he said, actually, Latinos have a resistance to it that other races don't. We've noticed.
No shit.
And I was like, well, they eat hot peppers like nobody's
Yeah.
business. I guess they can handle. I would have never thought that they could handle pepper spray better than another race, but apparently some Latinos that get pepper sprayed handle it apparently really well.
I bet you if they grew up eating hot peppers.
I don't know what the deal is, but I just would have never guessed that. So I'm glad I drove off right after I hit him with the hot sauce.
Yeah.
It stunned him for 5 seconds maybe, but then it was time to spray him again.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
anyways, that was my whole Batman experience or whatever you want to call it.
It's an interesting story, man. Good for you.
Pretty
Doing
cool.
the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I always wonder if I did the right thing though.
Sounds like you did.
Well, then,
Just
like,
from hearing
did
the
they
story.
both go home and then he beats the crap out of her because now he's pissed off that I pepper sprayed him? And
That may have happened.
like, should I have not ever got involved? I question what I did sometimes.
I don't think what you did would have stopped her if that was the scenario.
Yeah.
That girl was going to get hurt whether you stopped or not, man. I
Yeah.
think
It bothered me for a while. Like,
thought about it a lot, didn't you?
Yeah. I was, it maybe didn't feel as cool as maybe it would have to some people because I was just like, man, I hope overall she's better off for what I did and not worse off.
Yeah, it's not like in the movies where you see them 6 months later and they're reading a book because they're going to college now and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
No, she's still doing crack, hanging out in Lyrewood.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, that's the way the world works sometimes. Sometimes people, like something like maybe that did help her though at the same time. Maybe that gave her a wake up call. You never know.
I hope. And I've been to some low places, so whatever that dude's dealing with, I hope he's got something out of it too.
Well,
Positive, not negative. But I'll never know.
well, that night he got negative. Did he get arrested that night, or did they let them go?
No, let them go because she would have had to press charges on him, and she didn't press charges.
So she and him walked away together.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
After she was trying to get away from him, she didn't say a thing to the cops. Would not.
Wow.
And they couldn't force her to separate from him.
You can't. No.
She's got the battered wife syndrome or whatever you call it. It's weird because she was. I don't know who lived where, but one of them lived over there in Lyrewood. One lived in the apartments by my house. And he was dragging her to one of those places.
Yeah.
And she was trying to go back to the other one, probably her.
Yeah.
So
I can see how that bothered you for a while, though. It would bother me too.
But yeah.
Well, you stopped and you interjected yourself into a potentially deadly situation, and afterwards, the person that you were trying to save walked away with her assailant.
Right.
So
did I do any good? I don't know.
I'm just saying I can see how that bothered you for a while. How long ago did that happen?
I'm going to say 5 years ago, but it may have been a little bit longer, but it feels like about 5 years.
I still feel like you did the right thing in the situation, though.
Yeah, I've never really figured out what I would have done different. I mean, I felt like turning around to stop and check on them was the right thing to do. And I feel like pepper spraying that dude with him approaching my car, cussing, angry, fistballed up was the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
Definitely not a situation where I personally could justify shooting him, nor would I want to. We could have fist fought, but that just seems dumb. I got a force multiplier right here. Cost me $9. Let's go ahead and use this thing. So I don't really know. I think I did everything I was supposed to do. You just can't help but wonder, man. I hope it turned out okay for her.
Yeah.
So
I hope it did turn out okay for her.
Yep. So you asked me about pepper spray.
I think the closest to pepper spray I've ever gotten was in the army with the tear gas.
Did that
That
suck?
fucking sucked. Well, the way they do it to you. So, have you ever seen a documentary on
And
the
they
tear
take the
gas?
mask off, go in the room.
Well,
And,
no. You go in the room with the mask on. So
yeah.
you're trained in your gas mask, how to put it on. Then you all walk into a room, and in the middle is the tear gas, whatnot. And they get it going, whatnot. And then your drill sergeant then walks around the room and stops in front of you, and you have to get under your mask, get up above your nose, and push your mask up. You're leaving your eyes kind of covered, but you're pushing your mask up, opening your nasal passages in your mouth, and you have to recite your name, rank, what platoon you're in, but enough to get you to breathe to get it into your lungs. And then you kind of start coughing. They let you put the mask down. You kind of feel it. Uh, and then you clear your mask because you have to be able to clear your mask out. And then it kind of goes away for a minute. But then when you go to walk out, you're going to walk out, and then all of a sudden your drill sergeant puts his arm against the wall and stops the line. And they're like, okay, everybody take your masks off. And you take the entire thing off. And then you just stand there. And you stand there. It feels like forever, but it's probably really not. It's maybe only like a minute. Maybe. But man, once that tear gas gets inside, dude, your nose just starts running. Your eyes are
Yeah.
tearing up. You're coughing because your body's trying to expel all that.
Yeah.
And then you walk out, and you're supposed to, as you walk out, you're supposed to scream whatever platoon you're in or whatnot. You know, like hoorah, blah blah blah. I came out, I couldn't fucking talk. I was, hey! It took a minute for me to get my lungs back, but that shit sucks.
It sounds horrible.
It is horrible. I mean, after about 5 or 10 minutes of walking in fresh air, it's all gotten out of you. But man, talk about clearing your fucking sinuses, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yep.
Yeah, just nothing but snot all down your BDUs. Ugh, it was gross.
So were you Army?
Mhm.
Yeah. What'd you do 4 years?
No. I ended up quitting the army. Uh, what they call AWOL.
You did basic for 8 weeks.
I did basic AIT and then airborne, and then I was at the Ranger Regiment, uh, waiting to be shipped off to the 82nd Airborne in 2000.
Okay.
And me and a friend of mine, we decided we didn't want to be in the military anymore, so we left.
Cool.
Basically, quit it like a job, which is not what you're supposed to do because you sign a contract and the government. It's a legally binding contract. I do not recommend doing that to anybody.
How long were you in before you walked?
I couldn't tell you. It was well over 6 months though.
Okay.
Uh,
And then what happened because you went AWOL? What?
well, I was at,
negative repercussions.
yeah, I was gone for 7 years before I got pulled over in Bethany on 50th in between. So I don't know how I got away with all this, but like I was going to college
Yeah.
at OSU OKC, which I don't know how I got financial aid and everything. But it was the day of my finals for the summer part. Like I went through my first year of college, and I had done bad in a class, so I was on financial probation. And it was the day of my finals, and I had driven to that 7-Eleven on 50th and MacArthur to get a blunt stick to roll a blunt to smoke on my way to school to before I took my exam. And coming back from that, I wasn't wearing a seatbelt going through that little park on 50th right there, and a cop pulled me over, ran my name through the NCIC database, and it came up that I was AWOL from the United States, a deserter from the United States military, and I was to be held under federal hold. So I was arrested that day. Uh, my dog almost got taken, but luckily we lived around the corner, and my girlfriend, his fiance at the time, came over and got her car, which I was in, and my dog. So those things didn't get taken, and then I went to county for a while, and then I went to Lawton for a while, and then they shipped me back to the Ranger Regiment in Benning, where they didn't know what to fucking do with me. I don't know why they sent me back there, but I spent a couple weeks there, really just sitting in bed because it's not like I could go out and do anything with them. And then they sent me to Leavenworth, where I spent some time in military prison until they processed me out of the army.
Okay. So you got arrested at 50th and whatever. From that point until all the way to Leavenworth and out, how long did that take? A week, a month, a year?
I think it was a month,
Okay.
maybe two. I don't know, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think I was
When did you go in?
I was 25 and a half.
Okay.
I went in when I was 18,
Okay.
right out of high school.
And you're not,
So I turned 19. in
obviously,
basic
you're
training.
not making any money, getting paid, none of that stuff. You're just, did you get any kind of, like, you're not getting a military paycheck now that you're back in the army, are you?
No, no, that whole time I was there, you don't get paid for that.
Yeah, they're just,
No, they're just you're lucky. I was lucky that I didn't actually spend time longer in prison because they can technically lock you up for the remainder of what you owe the United States government.
uh,
You know, because say
What
say
the-
I left at 6 months, that means I had 3.5 years
Yeah.
left on my contract. They could have put me in military prison for 3.5 years.
what made you want to get out, you and your buddy?
Man, I was just a young dumb kid. Man, I'd been a quitter my whole life. Uh, shit, up until a few years ago, honestly. But I'd been a quitter my whole life. If things didn't go my way, then I just didn't do that thing anymore, and quit it. And I treated the army the same fucking way. I actually kind of regret. I wish I would have stayed in. Like, I wish I would have gone through like the ranger training and everything. Would have been fantastic. Uh, my life would have been totally different now. You know.
Right.
I actually recently tried to see if I could join back up, but my re-enlistment code says that I cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After going AWOL, probably not.
Yeah. Well, sometimes some of the people that get let out, their re-enlistment code allows them to sign back up if they want to. Mine does not.
Yeah, they told you we don't want no more of that.
Basically,
Yeah.
but I mean, if something were to pop off extremely big, like say World War III, uh, if the United States military needs me, they have every right in the world to call me back to active duty. It's a piece of paper you sign at the end. So, I mean, if they want me, they could call me and say, "Hey, remember that 3.5 years you owe us?" They can. But
What a
that's
trip, man. You're the first person I know that's done that.
yeah, it's not something people really talk about because it's looked down upon.
Sure, because you probably got a
I mean,
dishonorable discharge.
I have an other than honorable
Yeah.
discharge. But I mean, everybody who spent their time through the military and loves the military, I guarantee you. Well, I don't guarantee you because I don't know how they think, but a lot of people would think less of me because of that.
Right.
I don't personally. I was a dumb fucking kid.
Sure.
I was a dumb 19-year-old who just wanted to bang chicks and have a good time. I don't, and there weren't a whole lot of chicks in the Ranger Regiment. I'll tell you that. It was all dudes.
Right.
Man, I remember one time we were standing in formation for mail call one day, and this particular sergeant at the Ranger Regiment, he went through Somalia, so he was a little bit high strung, and I think the dude had the same last name as me, so we both had this last name of Ball, and he called out Ball, and we said which one, and it was this other dude's, and whenever he called his name, he went running around the formation and came around the back of it to run up to the sergeant. And he didn't see him. And he looked up at him, and the look in that man's eyes, if that guy would have kept running, he probably would have died that day. But he told him, he's like, "Don't you ever run up on me like that." He's like, "I will put you in the ground." I've never been so scared of a dude. I mean, I was a 19-year-old kid at the time, and this guy was a seasoned vet from fucking Somalia. Seemed pretty badass motherfucker to me.
Yeah, he probably was.
He had some good pictures of him in his office of shooting guns on the range with the
Yeah.
other rangers. Like, would have been a fun gig to stick with
Yeah.
for sure.
No, yeah, I know, man. What, what's my buddy's mom used to say, youth is wasted on the young.
Uh, um, Ernest Hemingway said that.
Yeah. So I get it, man. I was young too.
Yeah.
I never knew you, or if you told me, I forgot you were in the military and left.
Well, I mean, I don't claim it much because, like, I'm technically a veteran, but I'm not really
Yeah.
because I didn't fulfill my obligation to the United States military. So technically, I don't see myself as a veteran. So I'm not walking around to the VAs being like, "Hey, buddy, what was your?" Because we're not the same to
Yeah.
me personally. You know what I mean? I'm not the same as somebody who did 4 years and was deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm not the same veteran as that person.
Right.
I'm technically a veteran, yes, but I don't see myself as the same as somebody who went through that
Right.
because it's not.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, uh, I had the opposite experience as a civilian, 19 years in the Air Force. I wish I would have left after 2 weeks. I wish I
Yeah,
would have never. It has not been cool. It has not been. I don't think I've made the world a better place. I don't think it's. I don't think, and I know military people, operators, combat commanders also think the same thing. We are not doing what the American public thinks we're doing to defend American freedom.
that was part of my logic whenever I did leave personally because I had been on the inside of the military and I had seen what I mean, I had never been on the front lines and see how they operate that way, but I've seen how they operate on the base and I met a dude while at the Ranger Regiment that explained to me that it was his job to doctor photos.
Oh yeah,
Like that's what his job that was his MOS was. I couldn't tell you the technical term for it, but he took photographs and made them look one way.
yeah,
Like that was his job, and just I'm glad now that I never got to never had to deploy on behalf of the United States military because I feel now at this point in my life, I don't doubt that there are military people that do good around the world and take care of bad guys that need to be taken care of. I don't doubt that at all. I do feel like a majority of the United States military is just corporate America's muscle around the world nowadays, as opposed to the fighting for freedom and spreading democracy like
right.
the propaganda machine points out. They're kind of what you're talking about,
Yeah, I agree.
you know.
I agree. It's a. I mean, I've only got 19 years in. I've only watched a couple hundred videos on YouTube. I do not know everything. I have a very limited perspective, but based on what I think I know, a majority of what we're doing is not making the world a better place. It is making contractors rich. I can tell you that for sure.
Well, the military industrial complex is a money machine.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So that's
Do,
actually why I had to get the heck out.
do I kind of feel like that all kind of started after World War II.
Oh
Maybe it was
yeah.
more World War One, but in World War II, like
There's some.
companies switched from manufacturing everyday household items to manufacturing big arms for the military, and it's just become such a
I should know the president's name, but I don't.
Eisenhower
Was it Eisenhower that said that he
gave
wanted
the
us to?
speech about the military. I believe it was Eisenhower.
Yeah, some sounds right. I know one of the presidents back around that time said, "Hey, we got to watch out for this." And the next president I remember here talking about it was Reagan, and he was like, "Hey," it was in the '80s, and he's like, what that dude said has become the problem we were supposed to prevent. And Reagan was right. And the machine just is, it appears it just keeps on turning. So I didn't know what else I could do other than
Leaf.
I'm not going to stop the problem, but I can quit being the person that contributes to what I think is the problem. So,
Do you feel like your job actually contributed to part of the problem? Maybe not the overall problem, but
oh,
smaller problems inside of the military, like your job.
yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
you don't have to get into details if it's going to get you in trouble.
no, you're good. My colonel at the last meeting I went to in front of the entire division said something that I have been thinking for 19 years, but no commander has ever said. And he said it. It was kind of shocking. I was already on my way out the door, and then he says, "Our job is to kill people. And if you can't, if you're working in my office and you don't understand that, you're disconnected from reality." But I would also say most people out in my office that I used to work in don't think about it that way. They are just keeping the program on schedule. They are just making sure the funding goes to the thing. They are just making sure that the meeting gets scheduled to talk about. Nobody ever really thinks because of what we're doing, we're keeping 400 aircraft flying that are very much responsible for refueling all of the fighters and bombers that go do all the things they do. And by the way, all the things they're going to do are not training missions. They're dropping bombs, they're shooting bullets. It's not a training exercise, and it's happening every day, not just a little bit either. So yeah, I think that what I did absolutely contributed to the problem for sure.
Hmm.
Now that said, to your point, I would say a small percentage of the time, maybe we need to take out the leader of Al Qaeda for good reasons, or the next leader, or ISIS, or whoever. Does that happen? Yeah, that does happen too. Do we fly some humanitarian aid and go help during natural disasters? We do that. Yeah, we do some of that stuff.
That's not the military's job.
But I would tell you, if I had to throw a number at it, uh, well over 50%. I'm going to say 90% of the stuff we're doing, not necessary. In fact, it's detrimental to the benefit of the world. Brandon's limited perception. I could be totally wrong about that, but I just personally I had to get out.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it anymore. I could talk more about that, but it was just time for me to get out.
And how do you feel now?
I did not realize how much that job was sucking my soul dry until I gave my notice 2 months ago. And every week for 2 months, this weight I didn't even know I was carrying starts coming off. Starts coming off. And to the last week, I had all this stuff to do that I didn't get done. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm so happy right now. I forgot what it was like to feel this happy. So I feel fantastic about it. Now, working at moving to the FAA, still a government organization. There's still some
Bureaucracy.
inefficiencies there. Took me a week to get my computer working, type thing.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not killing people anymore. I'm trying to keep aircraft safe to save people's lives, not
Transport people properly.
right.
Without losing doors.
Yeah, right. So, just for my soul, my spirit, this is a better move for me, for sure.
Sounds like it, man.
Don't necessarily like the way the government necessarily does things, but overall, I agree with this mission way better than this mission.
Mhm.
So,
It's an intense job, dude.
the DoD,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's a good paying job, but it's intense because, like you said, I mean, their job is to kill people. It is.
people you don't know.
So whenever you first get to the Ranger Regiment, they sit you down in a room, and there's a ranger in there with you, and this is literally the start of your ranger training, right? You and a group of people sitting in a room, and then one guy at the front, he says, "If you do not think that you can walk into a room this close, point a gun at somebody's head and pull the trigger, this is not the place for you." That's how they start out your ranger training.
Yeah,
That question right there. And said, if you don't think that you can do it, raise your hand right now. We'll get you stationed some blah 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 blah. Yeah. So apparently they got to ask people that because at that time, I don't know what it's like now, but at that time in the early 2000s, recruiters were um, getting people into airborne school, but by way of signing them up for ranger training and telling them that whenever they get to the ranger regiment, all they got to do is opt out. And so that way they could guarantee that they got the airborne school, which is a little bump in your pay. And it's not much, but it's more. When you're 18 years old, you don't give a shit. Uh, Airborne school is really fun. But they ask you that question because I guess recruiters lie to people. Hey, we can get you into airborne school. I don't know. But I always thought that was really crazy. I was like, that's an interesting way to start this conversation.
Yeah,
That's how they start you off, though.
yeah,
But that's the military in a nutshell for you, though. So, I mean, that's what the military is for.
it is.
The military is
What it's supposed to be for.
designed to hurt the enemies of America. And unfortunately, I think it's become something else personally, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. So, need some more water? good?
I'm good, brother.
Okay.
I'm assuming.
I had Shelby on here last week.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Good, man. Good. It was good to see him again.
What'd y'all talk about?
Oh man.
Probably
Well,
guns.
no, not really. No, he's
Yeah.
a kid.
Yeah,
Talked about his kid, marriage. Because I haven't seen him since he got married. I
yeah.
haven't seen him in a while. Talked about Fight Club a bit. Quite a few things.
Y'all didn't talk about
Philosophy.
guns.
I don't think we did. No. I don't think so.
You had Shelby on your podcast. That's
We talked a lot
that's one
about
of those infinite universes where
Shelby didn't talk about
every other
guns.
universe they talked about guns. This is the one universe where Shelby did not.
We're living in that one.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, man, I saw him Sunday night for the first time in a while.
Yeah, he actually invited me back to Fight Club, and I was gonna go, but I was farting a lot that day,
Yeah,
and I wasn't wanting to fart in some dude's face.
yeah. He's the one reason we're reading the mini manual on urban defense.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's the one that suggested we read that. He was listening. He listens to Jocko's podcast, and the dude that wrote the manual was on the podcast. So,
yeah,
yeah, Shelby's a good dude, man.
yeah. I like Shelby. Known Shelby since early 20s. I met him when he was working at Outback when he was in college
Okay.
back in the day.
Oh, early 20s, like you mean age? Got you.
Yeah, age.
You said 20. Okay. That dog just come in here and fart and walk off.
Maybe that sounds like saying, make sure you didn't poop, man. There's no poop over there, is there? I could totally see him doing that. Sam just crop dusted us.
Yeah, I think so.
Ugh. Told you he's a big old baby, dude.
Yeah, he had to come mark his territory real
He
quick, I
gets what
guess.
he wants.
So we've talked about military, pistol training.
We're only an hour and a half in, too.
Really? What time is it? So I may bust out of here at 8:30.
That's fine. I need to leave early. Just make sure, just allow me to get my last question in.
Okay.
So we'll plan for 8:30 then.
Okay.
You got early morning, got work.
Get up at 5. I have 2 projects due next Wednesday, and my semester final projects. I just started one of them last night. I have no idea how I'm going to get them done. So all my free time besides work and a little bit of exercise is gonna be these projects for the next 10 days.
Well, thanks for taking time to do this.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're one of the reasons I'm doing this.
Oh, really?
I told you that before.
You did, but I can't remember what you said.
No, just I've
Oh, our conversation.
our conversation.
That's what it was.
sparked the idea. Our deep delves at your house with no recording equipment around kind of sparked the idea, or at least made me want to pursue it. that idea may have been there, but the conversations that I had with you kind of propelled it forward.
So how's it going? I mean, 21 podcasts. This is 22. Is it going the way you thought it would as far as conversations with people and podcasts? Is it?
Yeah. Some of them are harder than others because not every. I'm pretty honest. I'm pretty open about the mistakes I've made in life and the drugs that I've done and this and that, whatnot, and the fact that I'm a fuck up and I don't know, you know. Not everybody's as open and honest as I am. So sometimes it takes a little bit to get it out of people, but that's the point of the 3 hours.
That's what you like, people being real?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
I don't want you to fucking lie to me. And I mean, most people that I've had on, I have some sort of respect in some way for. So,
Yeah, I'd say most of us have a facade. And so if you can get even a handful of people to be who they really are, then you're onto something. I would say it'd be almost impossible to do with every guest, but
yeah,
I could see why that makes a podcast harder too.
yeah.
Like if they if they have a facade and can't for some reason get rid of it.
Well, yeah, that's really on them. I mean, I really just ask people the questions that I'm interested in. Like everybody I have on, I'm interested in and have some sort of respect in some way. Otherwise, I'm not going to have you on because there needs to be something there for us to talk about or me want to talk to you about personally.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I kind of feel like I need to force myself to have people on that I maybe don't know or don't have an interest in to kind of force myself to expand because the whole point of this is selfish anyway. Because I want to learn something. That's why I'm having a conversation with you. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So in that aspect, it's selfish. Um,
So then if it was purely selfish, well,
it's not purely selfish because the whole basis of this podcast is to help somebody who's listening to our conversation.
gotcha. That's what I was about to ask you.
Yeah.
If
So
it was purely selfish, why are you posting it on?
yeah, no.
Gotcha.
No. The whole basis of everything that I want to do, especially since I've become sober, from everything from this to my book to the restaurants I want to open, is to lift the people up around me. And the whole point of the podcast is because I heard a conversation one time between Joe Rogan and Rob Lowe, and Rob Lowe was explaining drinking and being sober, and that conversation between those two people, doesn't matter who they are, they were just two people. One of them was talking about his alcohol addiction at the time. That conversation stopped me from drinking thousands of times because I wanted to drink, but then I was brought back to that conversation. And what was said in that conversation was like, yeah, I don't need to drink because it's not going to end well. You know, so I want to do that for at least somebody. You know, my whole
Yeah.
goal in life now is I just decided to write a chapter on this the other day. I came in, I busted in. I was in the garage working out, and I came running in and turned on my computer and started typing. And Rachel started talking to me. I was like, "Shut up! Don't talk to me right now," because once I get going on something, like, don't interrupt me, I'll forget. Uh, I don't talk to my wife like that. She beats me. But at the end of my life, at my funeral, I want somebody to say, "If draws changed your life in a positive way, stand up."
Oh yeah, you told me that.
And I want at least 10 people to stand up. That's my goal, is to have 10 people at my funeral stand up. I hope it's 1 million, but my goal is 10. So, and I hope that these conversations that I have with people will be one of the ways that helps people, helps achieve that dream. That, and I thoroughly enjoy having conversations with people.
Yeah.
I'm just I love other people's perspectives. I think it's so important because I think that's one of the things that we've gotten away from as a people, as a society, uh, especially in our leadership. Like, just because you're the loudest talker in the room doesn't mean you're right.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we need to be able to have civil discourse and figure out our issues and how to properly solve them. Otherwise, we're going to be right where we're at right now in 10 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all that nonsense has led us to where we're at. Is we're such a divided people. Like, I honestly don't know how Russia, China, Brazil, Iran, I think it's Syria, the BRICS organization. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes.
BRICS.
Mhm.
I think those are the countries in there. I am surprised that they have not demolished us as divided as a people we are. Yeah, we have a bunch of guns and we have a bunch of uh, people who would stand up for this land and everything, but like financially and economically and um, through cyber warfare, just not. How would they not?
Good question.
I feel like we're super vulnerable as a country, especially as a superpower in the world. I feel like we're vulnerable
Hmm.
just because of our divide. Like, we can't even get our leaders to agree. They literally just touted a presidential candidate, whether you agree with Trump or not, as Hitler during this last election.
Yeah, so that agree.
And that kind of divide is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying. I would offer a couple of thoughts about that though. So you see that extreme, like let's say, for example, Trump is Hitler, and you're like, dude, these people are on way different page than I am, right? Two things about that. I would say one, um, I think I think this type of division has happened before. In fact, it's probably been worse. We just didn't know about it because we have so much media now, right? We see everything on Twitter or X or Instagram or Fox News or see whatever your thing is. You get to see every little thing that every person does, right?
Mhm.
I mean, there was a time, uh, I mean, we're pretty divided, right?
I
Uh,
feel like we are.
we had a civil war, right? Like in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So it's been worse,
True.
right?
Touche.
But we get to see every day. Well, uh, Starbucks doesn't say Merry Christmas anymore. Son of a bitch. Well, they
We're
should.
boycotting
They
Starbucks.
should say Merry Christmas. No, they shouldn't. And so we get to hear about all this stuff. But so I would say that it's been worse, and we get to hear about it now. So it just seems worse, or it can seem worse than it is. Also, I guess the third thing I would say is the extreme viewpoints of like, um, I don't know, something extreme. Trump's a Nazi.
Okay.
I don't know if this is true or not, but I know a lot of the extreme viewpoints, let's say on the left, that is less than 10% of the population, but they hyper focus on it. So, like conservative folks think that that's all liberals or that's all Democrats. A lot of the liberals and Democrats are looking at those people going, "Oh, you all falling off your damn wagon." But that's what we think all of them are like, right? If you're conservative. And then vice versa. The liberals get to see these hyper conservative people and opinions. I just heard from a couple of my liberal friends about, oh, what were they? They were super upset about something, and I was trying to understand why. And come to find out, they are definitely taking things out of context, playing them on the news, and making it sound way worse than it is.
Mhm.
But we just so if it's happening to the liberals, it's happening to conservatives, and we're both kind of like we're both getting played. I think it would be
I
cool.
agree with you.
I would also say, but to your point, it did seem like people like JFK and Reagan, when they had speeches, maybe you disagree with their politics, but they were respectful. And now we got stuff like, yeah, I mean, Trump can be a little divisive when he's speaking, right? He's
Okay,
very
absolutely. I don't think either one of our presidential candidates was the best choice for this country.
they're not super. They are divisive with their speech, or they can be divisive with their speech.
Yeah.
So
Well, they're both playing for a team.
yeah, yeah. So I tend to go back to my original stance on all politics, which is I didn't know much about it, politics, until I got into college, and then I still knew very little, and I never really kept up with it. Got up, put my pants on one leg at a time, went for a bike ride. What's that little meme? There's some poor sucker somewhere hiking under a waterfall that doesn't have his phone and doesn't realize how worried he should be about everything.
I haven't seen that, but okay.
That was kind of me. Ignorance is bliss. Maybe I should have known a little more than I did. But even if I knew more, I don't know that I'm going to change Trump's policy or Kamala's policy or whoever, whatever the deal is. I don't know. I don't know that me knowing about all that is going to make my life better.
Yeah.
I'll keep my pulse on a few things that I care about. But at the end, the ATF says I can't have a gun that I have. Okay. What am I going to do about it?
Nothing. At that point, you won't be able to do it.
99.9% of scenarios, I'm not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So
I think the difference of now and the Civil War, though, as far as divisiveness goes, is the techniques they use to divide us.
I think propaganda has always been the number one tool.
Yeah, but TV, internet, social media,
Oh, it's
like the way it actually gets to you now. Because before it was just in a paper,
right.
especially in Civil War days. If you found a paper, it was either word of mouth or it was written down, and you
Right.
read about it.
And here's
Now it's just funneled straight freaking to you all the time. I mean, my Instagram feed, it I don't even I've noticed that if I stare at a woman for too long on Instagram, like one of those little reels. I know you don't have Instagram, but if I stare at a good looking woman too long, it will fill my feed with nothing but good looking women.
Oh yeah, it does the same
But
thing.
if I just scroll by it and I stop at something else, say like a gun case, then I'll get a bunch of gun cases. And it's amazing how quickly it changes.
Yep. I don't know how, but so that happens on Facebook and YouTube. If I watch a poker video, I ain't watched poker in years. Watch one poker short, next thing you know,
You got 20 videos popping up.
right. And so, but the weird thing is, I won't even be on my phone. Well, I guess the next level of weird is I look up something to do with aviation on my phone, and now I'm getting stuff about, like the FAA. And I'm like, it had to hear me talking about the FAA because I've never typed that in my phone. Before I even started doing that stupid post on Facebook. So I was getting FAA hits on Facebook. I'm like, why is this popping up? So I've had some really creepy stuff happen on my phone. Like I remember, well, specifically, I was thinking about a movie. And I want to sound super weird right now, but I would just think about something like a movie, a particular part of a movie, and then I would get on YouTube the same day, and that exact clip would show up, and I'm like, this is freaking trippy. That's just a coincidence. I've had that happen more than twice, more than 3 times. I'm like, how does that work?
How are they reading your mind?
It's like, I don't know if that's to do with frequencies or vibrations or if it's just a bunch of freaking coincidences, but
Maybe we really are in the matrix and we're all plugged in.
I don't know, bro. But I do know that, yeah, those devices definitely can suck you in.
Yeah.
They're designed to keep you on them. And if you just looked at a pretty girl, well, we're going to need some more pretty girls. Or if you just looked at a gun case, here's a whole bunch of gun cases for you. It's my worst addiction. I have a couple of addictions. I've always been that way, but it is by far my worst. And I'm working on kicking that habit. The best thing I learned was a dude. He said, "Turn your phone off for an hour a day." And he goes, "Oh, you thought I just said to set your phone down for an hour a day?" I said, "Turn it off." So when I started school 5.5 months ago, I turned my phone off before the semester started, 1 hour each day. It was incredible how much stuff I got done. And the weird thing was, I'd be working on reading a book or writing a paper or something. My phone's dead, just on the charger over here, completely turned off. And without even thinking about it, I'd pick it up and do something. And then I'd look at it and I'd realize my phone's not on. And I don't know why the hell I picked it up. I just did this.
Habit.
Yeah. And I did that. I still do it when I turn my phone up for an hour. I will grab for it still 5.5 months later. It's not as often, but I do. I'll grab it and I'll be like, I don't know why I picked this up. I turned it off for a reason, so it needs to stay off for 57 more minutes or however, you know what I'm saying?
Whenever
I'm addicted to it.
whenever I'm writing, my phone is in a different room, just because I want to be focused here on the writing. But you're absolutely right. Like I'm at work sometimes and I go back to look at my phone and I get to my phone I'm like, what? I just looked at this 5 minutes ago. Why am I back here? I know I'm not doing anything out there and I'm bored, but why am I back here looking at nothing? Because I just looked at it.
Yep.
I think so on the propaganda aspect, since you're talking a little bit about addiction to the phone and whatnot. So I love other people's viewpoints, right?
Yeah.
Part of my problem, especially in the news cycle, is I try to search out different opinions.
Yeah.
So I'm watching independent media to try and get an accurate account or what I think is an accurate account. But then I'm also watching your mainstream stuff to kind of watch the propaganda in action. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
To try and get both sides. It's so fucking weird. It's kind of addicting to watch both. But uh, so the news that we do watch, we watch local in the morning to get your weather and your like local traffic report and stuff. NBC Channel 4. But right after that comes on the Today Show, and we used to watch like the first hour of it and whatnot. But we've realized, both me and Rachel both have realized that if after the local news, if we turn on music like piano, whatever you want to listen to, we're in better moods the rest of the day instead of watching that national news.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much it fucks up your day.
Yeah. I've never watched morning news ever. I mean, maybe if I stayed at my grandparents' house and it was on in the morning or something, but I've never turned it on my TV ever.
Don't. It ruins your day.
I don't. I remember my first experience with politics, and I was literally in college. I've been in college for a couple of years, and my girlfriend's parents asked me if I was liberal, if I was Republican or Democrat, and I didn't know. I had no idea in my early 20s what I was. And then I remember every time I go over there, her dad would talk to me about politics, and it, he always was wound up tight about it. He was a professor. Her mom was a professor at school. Both super smart people, but I just remember thinking, I don't enjoy this conversation at all. And were they were getting it from whatever was on the news, whatever they would talk to me about what was on the news that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remember thinking, I don't. It's like you're making me sign up for a team to play a game that I can't win and I don't care about.
Or really actively participate in.
So I notice I tend to have. I'm definitely on the conservative side. I definitely have views on the other side as well, but I tend to lean conservative, and whatever that means. Okay, cool. I don't. I'm not. What would you? I don't worship Trump. I don't. I don't know. It's not my identity.
No.
I don't. If somebody wants to have an argument with me, come in full circle. I'll talk with you. We'll have a debate if you want. But when it gets to an argument, I'm checking out. Usually, I would rather learn your perspective, ask you some questions. Why are you worried about X, Y, Z, or why do you like X, Y, Z? I like trying to understand where people are coming from because I literally don't get why people get so riled up. Well, so this president did this thing, and I mean, I, I remember this one girl told me when Obama was getting when he got elected that the Bible says basically quote all the scripture and like Obama was the devil, and was convinced that
The Antichrist
yeah, like because the Bible, the scripture talks about this, and she was very super smart chick. She was in the Oklahoma City top 40 under 40 business women. She's, but I remember dating her in college, and I don't think I've, well, maybe once, but she didn't ever lose her mind that much. And that she was convinced. I was like, okay, maybe not. I don't know. But obviously, very conservative person, very conservative values. A black Democrat is now going to be president.
Yeah.
This has to be the work of Satan, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I can't get there. I just can't.
I can't even. Agreed.
And I've heard everything in
I don't
between.
agree with everything that Obama did, but I don't think that he was the Antichrist.
Everything in between, man. Like, okay. You know, I don't mean to laugh at people that's part of your identity. It's just not part of mine. I don't.
You're allowed to have your opinion, man.
Yeah, I don't. Some parts of me wish I understood how people were that convinced, because I'm not that convinced of anything.
That's why I like having these conversations. Like that's one of the points of these conversations.
I
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I actually like being ridiculous and saying very definitive statements just to be funny. But I am not that way. One of my favorite things to do is tell some of my conservative buddies and my gun buddies, uh, Glock is the best pistol ever made because that's what Kamala carries, and she knows guns. It just I don't. You know she carries a
Oh, I
Glock.
bet you that's. I have no. I doubt she carries anything.
She says she owns a pistol and it's a Glock. She made a statement a couple weeks ago, and so I've been having fun with it. Saying,
Oh yeah.
Kamala said, so it's got to be right. That's, and I'm always ragging on my buddies, telling them Glock's the best pistol because that's what I got.
Yeah.
I don't really think that, but I like being super definitive because I think it's ridiculous.
This is my stance. Damn it.
Yeah, Glock's the best because I said so, and here's proof.
Anyways, like people identify with it too much, like you said. Like it's not your identity, and people. I think we're manipulated a bit into that
Sure.
from the time we're little children into being one team or the other. Just because that's how they stay in power and keep us divided. I mean, my conspiracy brain can go many different ways. But from the time you're in elementary school, I mean, in elementary school, you're the Panthers, the Cougars, whatever little team you are. And then middle school is a little bit more. And now you have a football team. Now you root for them. And then you go into high school, and then you're this high school team against this high school team. Then you go to college, you're against this college. And then you come out of college and you're a Democrat against the Republicans, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, I feel like that just may be my conspiratorial mind, but like it just drives us to be good little slaves, you know?
Well, the education
Pick your
system
side.
definitely does that.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely
Where-
teaches you to comply, not necessarily to think.
Don't speak out of turn, raise your hand, wait till someone calls on you.
Yeah, it's great if you want to raise a little military, but as far as like creating free thinkers and you know innovation and intellect, our school system is not the best way to do that by any stretch of the imagination. But even if it was perfect, back to your point, we are still wired for what I would call this in group out group mentality.
We're tribal people.
Yeah, we tend to associate based on three things: color, language, and religion. So I don't hang out with a lot of black French atheists.
Mhm.
I just, you know, I tend to hang out more with whatever I am, white, English speaking, And I'm agnostic, I would say, and I wouldn't say I am, but based on where I live, maybe I'm a little exception to the rule. But I would tend to hang out with agnostics if that was an option.
Hmm.
Not a huge option in Oklahoma, but that's what most people do, right? I'm not hanging out with a bunch of whatever. And that just tends to be so. Then there's like this in group, out group mentality. And it's funny because you can root for the Panthers, you can have this little bitty group, right? Or the next thing you know, yeah, the Patriots are better than the Panthers in Northwest Oklahoma City.
Hmm.
But now we're at the Olympics. We're all together. We're going to beat Russia and China, all of America's together. So it just depends on the context whether we pull together or not. But we all tend to, or humans have this tendency to want to, you know, to pick a team and defend it, I guess. And
Plant their flag.
I don't
kind
care
of
if
thing.
China wins or we win. Honestly, maybe that's bad to say, but if China won, watch that dude, watch that Chinese dude swim. Isn't that amazing what he did? Or who's the Usain Bolt? Usain Bolt.
Hmm.
Just cool to watch him run.
It is awesome to watch him run.
You're like, what the heck? He ran how fast? And he's smiling at the camera, and there are two body links behind him, and he's just taking it easy across the fence, like destroying the world's best. I don't care if he's from Jamaica or not, or America or not. You know what I mean?
It was amazing to watch. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah, stuff like that. I don't know.
Like the most recent Olympics was the guy who broke the pole vault record. I don't know if you watched.
I don't know.
I don't remember where he's from.
Is that the dude that hit his dong on the pole? Is that a different dude?
I don't believe so. I believe that's a different dude.
Okay.
This guy just broke the world record for highest vault ever. I think he's from France.
Okay.
But it was just, it took him a few tries to do it, but it was so awesome to watch. Watch this athlete try and break a world record. Like it didn't matter that he was from a different country. Like
Yeah.
during these Olympics, these past Olympics in Paris, like I think when that dude was trying to break that world, everybody was watching that moment, just to see this athlete succeed and break. Like it was really cool to watch. And it didn't matter where you fucking came from.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's an exception. Maybe more people feel like us than I realize. But you look at like, oh God, OU versus whoever they played Alabama.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I don't follow college football, but I couldn't not follow it when I
Yeah.
get on Facebook to do whatever I do on Facebook. I mean, it was almost like Jesus came back and spoke to the Sooners. Like they were all so happy, dude. So
They
happy
were.
over a football game. And cool, good for you. If you love that, do it. Have fun. But just to watch everyone come together over the OU Sooners football team, it's mind-boggling to me, honestly. I mean, literally mind-boggling. I'm like, huh? So you won a game against a big team. Your life is so much better now. What does that feel like? I don't know what that's like.
I don't either because I don't follow sports like that, man. I can't understand that mentality of um, relying so much on a game. But that night I was dealing at the craps table, and there were two dudes on each side of the craps table. Both of them they had their phone right there on the game
Yeah.
while they were throwing dice, like
Yeah.
watching it. Like
Yeah.
we're not going to miss a thing. And they were, oh,
That's funny, dude. I don't even get that excited. I mean, I like watching MMA. Well, I mean, yeah, so good for them. I'm just different.
yeah.
But we tend to have in group out group mentality. So I don't think it matters who's in the office. We're gonna disagree on things. You can either choose to base your identity on that kind of thing or not. So now we're covering the full gamut: politics, guns.
These are the conversations I like, man. I can't help it. It's just
Yeah.
one of the things that interests me about you. But you did just say something that interests me even more. Just said that you were agnostic.
Yeah,
When I met you, you were not agnostic.
true.
What happened? Because
Um, good.
just to give people reference, when I met you, um, you were holding a Bible study class on
Yep,
Sundays before Fight Club.
yep.
Um, you were heavy into your church.
Hmm.
I believe you were dating a heavy religious girl at the time.
Yeah, you
You were
could say
working
that.
on a relationship with her.
Yep,
Um, you had a good relationship with God. I guess I could just say that.
yep. I was,
That's how you were when I met you. And then you just said a moment ago that you're now agnostic,
yeah.
which is basically the belief in a higher power, but you're not quite sure what it is. Correct? Is that a good
Close.
definition of agnostic?
I'd say that's probably a common definition, and it's close to I would change it slightly though. Gnosticism has to do with whether you know or not. So I am agnostic. I believe you can't. I should change what I just said. I think you can't know whether there's a God or not. But I'm a theist, which means I believe there is a God. So I'm an agnostic theist. I don't think you can know, but if I had to guess, I believe there is a God.
Okay.
But I don't believe you can know whether there is one or not. That's what Gnosticism has to do with it being agnostic. It means you don't know.
So what changed in your faith there to take you there?
Well, so then to answer that question, I'll have to flail about for a second,
It's okay.
and talk out loud about what got me to God, and then that might help me figure out why I'm agnostic now. So I think we were on the podcast earlier today talking about how I was just pretty much balls to the wall partying in my 20s.
Hmm.
And that was a dead end, empty road that I didn't like. And so then I got invited to church when I was 31 and changed my life. I was like, has this preacher been following me? How does he know all this stuff? I was getting things that I desired my whole life, which was like basic wisdom, just basic, whether you believe in Jesus or not, just the basic wisdom was like, I was like, that's a really good point. It's so basic. Well, I've never thought about that. So I really was super thirsty for just wisdom. And I think whether you believe in God or not, the Bible has a lot of wisdom. Whether you believe in all the stories or not, I understand whether you do or not. I get it. But I was getting a lot of like guidance that I wish I'd had earlier in my life. There was this big void for 30 years, and now all of a sudden I had this. Oh, how come we didn't talk about this at school? How come I didn't? My parents didn't tell me about this. How come whatever this is? I wish I'd had this earlier.
Hmm.
Okay. So I just started drinking from a fire hose as much as I could. I was going to 4 different churches some weekends to listen to sermons. I couldn't get enough. And I did that for almost 10 years. And then what happened? Oh, I started hearing stories in the Bible. And at your first couple of years of reading the Bible, you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of my life has changed so much since I started following God. And that's such a miracle to me that, hey, maybe this crazy thing in the Bible did happen, right? Maybe this hammer did float on water. Whatever the weird miracle was, right? And then as you get older and older, 9 or 10 years goes by, and I'm like, I'm thankful for everything that's happened, but I can't shake the fact that the hammer floating on the water doesn't make sense to me anymore. And then I started reading things that were contradictory in the one thing, and then it'd say the opposite thing, and I was just like, those both can't be true. Let me talk to some pastors about it and get them to explain it. They couldn't explain it, but furthermore, they wouldn't just say, you're right, it doesn't make sense. They would say things like, well, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Put a pin into it, come back to it later. God works in mysterious ways. If we can't see how it makes sense, well, that's just because God is greater than us. They would say things like kind of cliche things.
Hmm.
And, I don't want to get into the weeds, but there was just things that I couldn't help but notice. This doesn't make sense to me. And I can't act like it does. And I feel like you're telling me to act like it does, or to ignore the fact that it's glaringly Um,
Hypocritical.
just uh, you can't deny that it doesn't make sense to me. I wasn't trying to pick apart the Bible. I wasn't angry at God. None of that stuff. I just logically I was like, that makes sense. And so then I went through a group to quit drinking, and that guy helped me a lot, my sponsor, and asked him some questions. He had the same answers, and him and I were on the same wavelength as far as intelligence, the way we thought. And we agreed on almost everything. But when we came to talking about these inconsistencies in the Bible, I realized, oh, I got a lot of respect for him, but we just disagree on this. And I have to be honest. I don't see what he sees. I want to see what he sees. I don't see it. And it was really cool for me because that was like I don't think I've ever been that honest with myself. But being sober for a year and a half at that point, I was like, oh, it's time to like, be a real boy. Stop being a wooden puppet. I'm gonna be a real boy now at 40 years old, which was kind of. But I was like, this is right. Whatever this is right. And finish that story. I would have friends ask me, dude, what's going on with your walk with God? People care about me. They love me. They genuinely wanted to know. And I just told him the 100% truth. I don't know if God's real or not. I'm on a quest for truth. If God is real, then my quest will lead me to Him. And if He's not, then it won't. But I think if God is real, and I believe He is, I've got to be honest with myself. And He's big enough to handle it if He's real. And I'm just seeking truth. So that was 2.5 years ago, and I have never had more peace, or health, or growth in my life since I started getting super honest with myself about everyone in this church seems to believe this, but I just don't. I'm not picking apart the whole Bible. I'm just saying that's some specific things, and I had to be honest about that. So I'm agnostic. I don't know. You'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have told you, brother.
About when I met you.
Jesus was the Son of God that died for your sins on the cross, and the whole thing, right? But and it felt good to believe in something like OU football. I guess I believed in Jesus that much. I guess I there I can compare those two. It just made so much sense. I have to think more about why, but just everything made so much sense to me. And it felt good. It was a good time in my life. But then that came to an end, so I had to be honest about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll circle back around. I don't know. But right now, um, I don't know. So
I like that. And I like what you said about if God is real, He's big enough to handle it.
right, we should be able to be honest with. We should be able to be ourselves, right? If God's real,
Yeah.
or based on what I think I know about God.
Well, because I mean, I've heard too many times throughout my life that if you don't have faith or believe in God, that's it. You're going to hell. You know, and
Right,
that's actually one of the things that kind of turned me off from religion because um, I don't want that from you as my friend. Why would I want that from a creator? Like if he's going to be so judgmental of me like that, does that make sense?
yeah, yeah.
Because like I
It was
almost don't want you as my creator if you're just going to be that much of a dick to me because I have questions.
right. It is very. I don't think he crosses the line sometimes, but what's his name? Jim Jeffries, comedian.
Hmm.
He does a really good bit about why Jesus is ridiculous. Like he goes overboard with it.
I'll look
But
it
when
up.
you break it down as much as he does, it does seem rather silly that, or can seem silly that God would create us and then be mad that we are the way we are, right?
Yes.
And he embellishes on that whole little train of logic and throws in a bunch of other things and just makes Christianity seem super ridiculous. But he does. It's funny because he does have a point. He
Yeah.
shows all the but that said, I would also say I agree with what you're saying. I if you're gonna be such a jerk to me, I don't want to. But I also understand why that would also help people believe. Like if you love somebody, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you what's good for you and what's not good for you. Like you're always a loving man, you don't need to be drinking right now, right? So I can see how you could. It makes sense to people, and it made sense to me. Like, oh, well, if God says something, and it's putting boundaries on my life that are better for me than I can. Maybe I don't like them, but they're good for me. Like, your dog has shelter, food, water, and love, but he has to stay inside this property. He has those boundaries, and his life's better than if he just ran free. So you're like, oh, God is He gives me these food, shelter, love, water. As long as I stay within these, that makes sense. So I get both sides of it.
Yeah.
I get yours. I want to do what I want to do. Who are you to tell me?
Well, it's not that I want to do what I want to do. It's just there's something more than me. There has to be. I've seen too many things in my life. Um, Too many moments have happened in my life where either I'm exactly where I need to be when I need to be there. The best example of that was the day that I saved Rachel's life. Um, or somebody is where they need to be to help me. Too many small things like that have happened in my life for there not to be something greater than us. Um,
That's why I said don't know, but I believe there is a God.
that's where I'm at. Like I absolutely believe in a higher power, something greater than all of us. You know, I just don't think it's a long bearded dude in a white cloak sitting on a cloud behind some pearly gates
Yeah.
that's gonna judge me right when I walk up and then either decide if I get to kick it with him in heaven or I have to burn for eternity. I don't think it's like that. I
Right.
I do, however, think that whenever we die, because I've also heard stories of people who have died and come back and have seen heaven or seen hell or whatnot. And I don't know if this is true, but it's just kind of what I think. Um, that is really just your mind hallucinating of what you think death is in the moment you are dying.
That's my understanding of near death
You know
experiences.
what I mean?
Yep.
Because your mind is dying, so it's like flood all this DMT and everything, and your mind thinks heaven, the white tunnel that you hear about, is what you're gonna. So that's kind of what you're stuck. Like, I don't know what happens when we die. I won't know what happens until I die. I do think there is something greater than us, and I think that death is just another evolution in life,
Yeah.
like of our spiritual life. We get rid of this meat suit, and you become whatever you become. I do not think that it's just done. If it was just done, I don't think we would have souls. We would have different. We wouldn't have different. We would be ants. You know, one big hive mind with a queen, and we're all just little worker bees. You know, I don't. I guess I do have faith, as most Christians do, that there is something beyond this life. Because honestly, I don't want it to be over. I don't want life to be over.
Yeah, we
You
get
know what I
it.
mean? Like I enjoy this life
Yeah.
and this is all good and stuff, but I could deal without this stressful shit
Yeah.
that we're dealing with. You know, I almost want to live back in like the 1300s when I lived on a farm and just raised cattle.
Those are hard times.
I'm
Man.
sure they were,
Those are hard times.
but you know what? I didn't have to think about a fucking nuclear bomb falling on my head.
True. I would. Yeah. So I'm with you. I don't. despite all the BS, life's pretty good. I don't want to tend either, but I absolutely have no idea what happens. I don't know if you have spirits or souls or none of that. I can tell you there's some stuff that's happened. Like you were in the right place at the right time for all these things, and you're like, it puts this thing in you, and you're like, man, there's something else going on here that I can't comprehend. But it's you have that sense,
It
right?
led me to here. Like
Yeah, and sometimes
something nudged me in that direction, and it wasn't me.
we do have a tendency, our brains want to connect patterns and make meaning out of things. And I think sometimes we do that and there's nothing there. But there's also times where I think it happens and I wasn't trying to connect anything. Something just something just happened. Why do I feel like I'm supposed to do this right now? And then you go do it, and you're like, oh shit. How did I know that? I can tell you a story that happened last week if you want. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't, it's a
What
pretty good ride, but and I also think every generation has it better than the last generation. So especially like dude, 150 years ago, right here, you were in your covered wagon with your family right here. India, this was Indian territory, 150 years ago. Hard living, man. Now there wasn't Twitter debates and mean guys, orange man saying mean things, and gas prices weren't high. We deal with different problems, but I mean, they're trying to eat and live in the middle of the freaking prairie. You know what I mean? And then it got a little better and a little better and better, and now we're
city was formed, and then go, yeah.
driving cars, flying rockets to the moon and Mars, and like life has gotten pretty damn comfortable. I needed 4 T-shirts, and so 2 day shipping from Amazon. They're gonna be in my house tomorrow. Like they had to wear the same damn clothes. They're all, you know what I'm saying? We got it pretty good. Like life has evolved for humans, especially the past 100 years. So I think we got it pretty good. I'd rather live now than 1300, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's something there, man. I don't know what it is. I'm grateful for whatever it is. I'm thankful for it, but I also have to be honest and go, I don't know. I don't understand it. If that's God, God, thank you. Whatever. If I'm just part of evolution, and now I've got a
Conscience.
conscience. Yeah. Um, that's just part of evolution. Okay. I don't know what it is, man, but it's pretty cool. I was bow hunting last week, and you ever have that voice that tells you to do something, and it's like I have this voice, and when it tells me to do something, it's always right. I don't always listen to it, but I always learn that it was right.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know what you call that. I'm going to call it my conscience, but or the spirit, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call that thing. And I've been hunting for the past 3 years, never killed a deer. Been hunting for 3 years. I've hunted probably roughly 30 days over the past 3 years. Sitting in a tree Wednesday night last week, and a 6 point buck, biggest deer I've ever seen in my life. Hunting for 3 years, walks 25 yards away, easy shot. And I'm like, what the heck? I go grab my bow, and I'm about to get ready to draw, and I just have this huge, overwhelming sense that I'm not supposed to shoot this deer. This is a moment I've been waiting for 3 years, and now I have this overwhelming sense I'm not supposed to take a shot. Just and so I heed, I listen, and I'm like, okay, this I'm old enough now to know whatever this is right. It's freaking weird. I don't understand it. Just because I've been sitting here all day, I'm going to draw just to practice lining up and see if I can do this without the deer hearing me because I've never got to do that. But I'm not going to release it. So I draw. He never hears me. I release it, put it down, sit there and watch it. Just going to enjoy the show. He leaves. 4 point buck comes in. Just watching. Another 6 point comes in. Beautiful. Just watching. Then, I kid you not, more bucks than I've seen in my entire hunting career, right? All within 30 minutes. This huge monster 8 point comes in. Gorgeous. I'm like, not supposed to shoot anything. What the hell? Just watch it. Cardinals, Blue Jays, awesome. Um, Big old 8 point. Just watching nature, listening, birds chirping. Sun goes down. I get on my tree stand, and I go and grab my bow, and I look down, and the sight on my bow is wiggling. It's supposed to be solid locked, so it's loose. And I didn't know that till I got out of the tree stand. If I had taken that shot, it all starts clicking. I'm like, if I had taken that shot, I would have maimed that deer at best or missed. Or at worst, I would have maimed it. So, but I probably wouldn't have killed it. I would have just maimed it, which is not what I want at all.
No,
That would mess
no.
me up. And so I was just like, what the? And the funny thing was, last week, it's the only time I've taken my bow to have somebody else work on it. Took it to Cabela's. They did some tuning for me. Apparently, they removed my sight and they did not torque the bolts back down. They were tight enough for me not to notice until. So, how I didn't know my sight was loose, right? How freaking weird is that, man?
That's what I'm talking about, though. Those little moments. Those are the little moments where I find God
Yeah,
or whatever God is.
yeah, whatever that is.
Those
I just
moments.
go, there's something else going on here, man, that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And I have respect for it and awe for it, and I'm thankful for it, but I don't. Is that the Holy Spirit? I don't know. I could understand why someone would think it's the Holy Spirit for sure. If that's what it is, I'm open to the idea and the possibility that's what we call the Holy Spirit in the Bible. Totally. Because whatever that is freaking trippy and it's never wrong. Never. And there's dudes, philosophers back in the day, hundreds of years ago, talking about it and how it was never wrong. And you should always listen to it. I think they refer to it as their conscience. But whatever it was never wrong. The heck is that? I thought, aren't we just monkeys that are, trying to evolve here and mate and eat and sleep and reproduce? What's this?
Yeah.
You sure I'm just a monkey? I don't know. I mean, I could see why you'd argue that, but then what's this? The monkeys have this? I don't know.
Man, that's a great story, dude.
The trip, dude.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I'll show you I shot a little 1 minute video of that first buck that walked in. He beautiful, and he stands perfectly sideways, which is the shot you want. He's not ass facing me, head face. He's not quartered to me. He is completely broadside for long enough that I could have easily shot him. Nope. In fact, I did everything that I just talked about and then shot the video. So you get to see how much longer he was standing there for the next.
Yeah.
Bro, my buddy was, I'm a meat hunter. What are you doing, man? You should have shot that thing. What are you doing?
No, because you, like you said, you would have maimed it at best. And that's not what you're going for when you hunt. Like,
well, some other cool stuff happened. I learned after that really what Brandon cares about, now that I've learned some more on that trip, I don't want to shoot a buck. I want to shoot a doe. There's more doe than there are bucks. I didn't know that. Doe apparently taste much better than bucks, and I would have thought you wanted to save the does, but I learned.
doe's female, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm looking to take an older doe, not a young one, but one that's at the end of its life.
Yeah, that's most likely going to be eaten by a bear
or a mountain lion or
mountain lion,
coyotes or whatever. Yeah. So long, painful, drawn out death or quick, efficient.
arrow through the heart.
Maybe you would have lived a little longer, but you have lived most of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm letting somebody else do the dirty work now. Animals are getting killed for me to eat. It's important for me to do my own dirty work now. It's not pretty. I don't look forward to it, but it's already happening. I'm just turning a blind eye. Mm-hmm. And I would guess the doe that I'm going to harvest is healthier for me than the Walmart hamburger meat that I get.
It is.
I learned a lot about that recently. So yeah,
That's a whole nother 3-hour podcast right there.
Yeah, I don't want
We're
to.
not going to get into that.
Yeah, I just want to. I mean, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be a vegetarian. I feel so much better when I eat meat. Seems that that's the way the circle of life is designed, the ecosystem. I'm supposed to eat meat. I've tried vegetarian, it didn't work for me. Tried vegan, it didn't work for me. I went back to meat and I feel so much better. Other people have different experiences. That's just mine. And so I'm like, okay, if you're going to be a meat eater and you want to hunt deer, I want to shoot a doe. And I do not want to take an animal's life. I don't, but the circle of life is beautiful and intense, right? I'm up the food chain, so I got to eat you.
I think that's one of the reasons why I picked up a bow instead of wanting to just do powder hunting. Like I want to learn bow hunting because I think it gives more respect to the animal because you have to do a lot more.
Agreed. I have felt that way for 3 years, and I just changed my stance last week. Um, I now see, even though I had a 25-yard shot, and that should be pretty good for me, I now see that a rifle could be much quicker and much more accurate.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
I felt like I needed to earn the kill, but now in trying to do that, I'm making it harder with a bow. I'm decreasing my accuracy. Um, and so I think I'm increasing my chance at if something goes wrong, if my shot's a little off, I'm now wounding a deer and then potentially never finding it. So it dies a slow, painful death and gets eaten by coyotes somewhere else, which is the whole thing I don't want to happen. So I'm going. Rifle season just started Saturday. I'm going to rifle hunt for the next month, and then if I don't get something with rifle, I'll go back to bow. But the distances I'm willing to shoot each of those weapons is going to be much closer, much shorter than I think an average hunter would shoot. That's my personal conviction. Doesn't mean I'm some super ethical, moral dude. That's just my personal conviction.
Yeah.
So I want to. I want it to be ethical, quick, and over with.
Which is the goal.
Yeah, I don't want to just take a shot because I can kind of see an animal and I can maybe kill it and it runs off 600 yards and I never find it. Which a buddy I went hunting with recently had a experience like that. So
And that goes back to training
yeah,
and taking Brandon's pistol course.
yeah. Come train some pistol, man. It's fun. Shooting pistol is fun.
Yeah, it is.
I just bought 19 steel targets and first off, I bought a bunch of cool targets for our class, so students have something cool to shoot at. So we got cool targets in class now, and now I bought a bunch of steel targets. I'm just going to take out to some land and go shoot for fun. You'll have to come shoot with me when I get all that set up.
Yeah, let me know.
It's going to be just fun.
Let me know. If I'm working that day, I'll call into work.
Okay.
I never call in, and plus my job doesn't pay well anyway.
What are you doing? You doing casino? You said?
No. I work for a hotel as a
Okay.
bellman. So I carry people's bags at the hotel. That's the one that doesn't pay very well.
Oh, is that at a casino though?
It is, but I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to get in trouble.
No, you're good.
It is at a casino. It's a casino hotel. Yes.
Okay, that's how you saw people watching OU football at the craps table.
No. My other job is I work for this guy who puts on, who goes to private parties and provides casino style games.
Oh yeah.
So they can have a casino night.
Yeah.
And we don't use real money. But
I've been to those.
Yeah. And I'm just
So you help.
I'm one of the dealers for this guy who puts on these private parties, and occasionally I'll get a text message like, "Hey, we got a private party for 3 hours on Friday night. Do you want it? Yes or no?" And it's called Jackpot Casino.
Cool.
Is the company that puts it on.
Okay.
Jackpot Casino Party or something like that. Oh. He's a cool dude. It's past 8:30. I know you said you were gonna.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Let's end with this.
Okay.
I think if I remember correctly, I first asked this question on your first podcast, so podcast number 2. But what is something you've learned? And I think it was asking you because you said that one of the things you learned is it's okay to say, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
That was, I think that's one of the things you said.
Yeah,
So don't use that.
okay.
But what is something that you've learned in life? Some piece of advice you could give to anybody listening that might help them.
Man, I'll go back to what I told you at the beginning of this. The thing that's changed my life okay, so I might give you two pieces of advice.
That's fine. My brother gave me 3.
Okay. So the first one is be honest with yourself. Um, whether you're conservative, Republican, OU fan, OSU fan, whatever. There's so many ways to divide yourself, right? Black, white, Christian, not Christian. I don't care. Whatever it is, pro-gun, anti-gun, pro-abortion, There's so many things you could be. Whatever it is that you are, it takes all kinds of people to make the world go round. So if we're on the same page, cool. If not, cool. Just be you. Be honest with who you are. I think that is harder than I thought it was going to be. Maybe no one else feels this way, but for me, when I started getting honest with myself, that was just the first step to finding out who I was. I, I thought that was just going to be like an instant, okay, I'm going to be super honest now. Yeah. And then you're going to have to think about something else and something else. And you're not really this. So think about that. And what do you think? What do you really think about? Practice telling the truth, or at least don't lie. That's what Jordan Peterson would say. So practice telling yourself the truth. Uh, ethically, they would say that like, um, you could get away with lying and it may get you some short term gain, but in the end, you've cheated yourself. And that's so much worse. So, anyways, whoever you are, be honest with yourself and just be you, dude. Or gal, chick, whoever. Be you. I don't think most people are. I think they're living in a cage and they have the key and they don't realize it. Just be honest. Okay, so enough about being honest. That makes sense, right?
Yep.
The other one that's changed my life this year particularly has been the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. It occurs all over nature.
Wait, say the Pareto principle.
Pareto, I think it's Pareto. I think is how it's spelled. Pareto principle. And this guy basically figured out that there's this 80-20 relationship, or really close to 80-20, in a lot of areas of nature, in a lot of areas of life. For example, 20% of the people in the world have 80% of the money. Okay. 20% of the people in your office do 80% of the work. 20% of the things that I work on are producing 80% of my success. So if I have a list of 10 things to do,
2 of those things.
I pick 2 of those things to focus on. That's going to give me the majority of my success. I'm getting the most for my time right there. The other 8 things are only going to account for 20% of my success. So there's a lot of energy for a little bit of reward, right? And for me personally, I don't know that somebody necessarily gave me this advice. I just studying and read it and realized it, but Shelby told me this, and I hated it when he told me. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. Because I was a perfectionist when him and I lived together, and I was like, God, I hate that quote. Everything should be perfect. But he's right. Perfect is the enemy of good enough. You're going to waste so much freaking time and energy making stuff perfect. It ain't worth it. Get it good enough and move on. That has been huge for my life this year. This has been the best year of my life by far. By far. And it's the only year I've not been a perfectionist or super angry. So I hope the Pareto principle made sense. It applies all over the place, but if you're super anal like me and you're a perfectionist, or you're having trouble house isn't super clean, or I pay someone to mow my yard now. Do they mow it as good as me? No,
But it's good enough.
it's good enough. And it saves me 2 hours every week. Here's your $40. Thanks. You know what I mean? So it's crazy how dirty my house is compared to what it used to be. And I'm so much happier.
Yeah.
So much happier. So yeah. Do focus on the 20%, whatever that is in your life. That's what that would be the advice I'd give people.
My 20% is this podcast and my book.
Okay.
I would guess everything else is like my running and work and building business. I don't know. I might have to rearrange those. Building the business might be need to be in that 20%.
Yeah, well, so I mean, maybe you've got a 30-70 relationship or something, but just know the more you try to do, the less it's going to contribute to.
Sometimes I try to do too many things at once.
Me too, brother. And I'm not. I'm certainly doing more than the 20% of things on my list, but I have whittled it down some. And what's on my list is I'm doing it 20% as good as I'm spending 20% of the time that I think I should spend on it. I'm dropping a YouTube short tomorrow. It's super important for me to drop this. I haven't dropped one in 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
I want to drop one every week. I have not had time. They take me an hour to make a 1-minute clip. I sat down tonight or this afternoon at lunch and was like, this is important. I got to crank it out. And there's a lot of other things I could have done with it, but it gets the point across. It's good enough for whoever's going to see it, right?
That's good, man.
So
I'm glad you're doing better this year than when we talked last time.
yeah, I don't remember our conversation very much, but I probably was not this happy or free or light or any of that stuff.
I don't think you were. You were struggling with your faith. I know that. I remember that.
Okay, I think I was agnostic. Because that was back in
No,
February.
you were thinking about it.
Because
You may have been agnostic, but I don't think that you were admitting it to yourself at the time when we talked last on the podcast, at least.
So
because I asked you how your faith was doing. That was my question to you: was how is your faith doing?
Oh, I'll have to go back and that's interesting. I would have thought I would have told you I was agnostic then.
No, you did not.
Huh.
You should go back and listen to it. But you did not say that you were agnostic. That's why it stuck out.
Because I
you said it
finished
tonight.
I finished. I believe you. I just find it interesting because I finished my little quit drinking program with the church in 2020 or 2021. Probably 2021. Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot happened in 2020.
And so, and that's when I started understanding Gnosticism and theism and started telling people I thought that I was agnostic theist.
Well, maybe you just weren't ready to say it on the internet yet.
Yeah, that's weird.
Maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, maybe I still felt weird about it.
Yeah, go back and listen. I don't really listen to them. I don't like listening to myself. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Brandon, you can go to his YouTube page. What's your YouTube page?
YouTube. So it's going to be all like strung together, no spaces. Go Play Outside 47. Should pop up a picture of my bearded face in front of a mountain.
There is a link underneath this video.
Oh yeah. And if you're interested in inspiration or ways to play outside or get healthy or have fun, that's what my channel does. So go, if you're bored, go check it out.
You can also send messages on Facebook if you want to take a gun class.
Oh yeah, hit me up on Facebook or YouTube if you want to come take a pistol class next year. That'd be cool.